Dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for a soft hum. Settle in. Let your shoulders relax as we step back in time. Chapter 1. The Morning Mist of a Norse Farmstead. It is the year 841 CE. We are in western Norway, near the fjord-rimmed village of Ulvheim. This place is small, made up of no more than a dozen longhouses and a scattering of barns, pens, and foot-worn paths. And this story isn't about warriors or jarls. It's about you, a simple soul waking up in a Norse farmstead, just trying to last a single day. The air is cold. Not cruel, not quite, but biting at the edges. It seeps through the gaps in the wooden beams overhead. The longhouse you sleep in is one long open room, dim and smoky. No chimney. The smoke of last night's hearthfire still lingers in lazy ribbons just above eye level. It curls toward the rafters, where smoked fish hang quietly beside bundles of herbs. You lie on a bed of straw layered with animal skins. Sheep, perhaps a bit of reindeer. The mattress shifts beneath you as you stir. Your breath mists in the dim light. You are not alone here. Beside you, in a wide shared bed, are three others. Your younger cousin, your older sister, and a neighbor's boy who sleeps here some nights when his father's gone hunting. No privacy, no rooms, just closeness. In winter, it's not just normal, it's survival. You sit up. The wood beneath your feet is rough, uneven, and cold. You reach for your tunic. It's wool, thick and itchy, but you pull it on without hesitation. Then come your trousers, no buttons, no belt, just cords and a simple wrap. You wrap your shoulders in a second layer, your best tunic, the one with faded red trim at the cuffs. It smells faintly of smoke and sea salt. A soft clatter comes from the other side of the longhouse. That's your mother. She's already up, as always. You can hear the rhythmic sound of grain being ground in the cornstone. Scrape, scrape, scrape. Steady as the breath of the earth. The fire in the center of the room is just embers now. Your father is kneeling beside it, feeding in dry grass and blowing softly. You hear the first crackle of flame, and slowly the warmth returns to the space. The fire pit is ringed with blackened stones, and the iron pot above it hangs from a beam. In it is last night's gruel, oats, goat milk, a few shriveled berries. He stirs it without speaking. Your mother greets you with a glance. Not a word. She doesn't need to. She passes you a wooden bowl with a lump of cold butter and a flat cake of barley bread, baked yesterday on the hot stone beside the hearth. You chew slowly. It's dense, dry. You wash it down with a sip of sour whey. Outside, the chickens stir. You hear them through the rough wooden door, clucks and soft pecks on the packed earth. The light is bluish-gray, filtered through morning mist that still clings to the hills beyond the fjord. Your job is water. You lift the wooden bucket from its hook and step out into the cold. Your boots are stiff, leather, untreated, tied with strips of hide. You carry the bucket down the slope toward the stream. The grass is damp and slick, still sparkling with dew. Somewhere in the distance, a raven calls. At the stream, you kneel. The water is clear, biting cold. You wash your hands, your face. You fill the bucket and turn to carry it back, careful with your footing on the slippery moss stones. By the time you return, the household is awake. Your brother is feeding the goats. The oldest boy is checking the fence posts. Your little cousin has already dropped the butter dish once and gotten a swat on the back of his head for it. There is no school, no church, no hour of leisure, but there is rhythm, and in that rhythm, there is peace. You spend the next hour hauling chopped wood into the longhouse. The pile is low, too low. Your father will take you to the edge of the woods after mid-meal to gather more. It's risky, wolves have been seen, but you need wood more than you need comfort. Your mother hangs wet clothes on the line strung between the outer wall and a crooked pole. The wind is stiff and promising. It will dry the cloth if it doesn't snow. She's humming something, a tune you half remember, a lullaby about Freyr and the rain. Around mid-morning, a visitor arrives. It's old Torstein, the beekeeper. He knocks twice and walks in before anyone answers. His beard is white, his fingers twisted with age. He has a cracked bowl filled with comb, honey, wax, even a few stunned bees. He barters for wool. Your father doesn't haggle. He respects Torstein. The old man lost both his sons in a shipwreck. Now he talks to his bees more than to people. You sit by the hearth as your mother teaches your sister to mend a cloak. She works with bone needles, careful motions. You watch the firelight flicker over the wool. You learn without asking questions. That is the way here. You observe, you remember, you try. Outside, the sky is brightening. The mist is lifting. The fjord gleams far below, silver and slow. The goats bleat once. A dog barks in return. Somewhere an axe strikes wood. You hear a shout, nothing urgent. Just the sound of a neighbor calling to his sons. Life here is not easy, but it is full. And the day has only just begun. The gruel is ready now. It doesn't smell like much, but your body welcomes it. The bowl is wooden, the spoon carved by hand. Your older brother made it from driftwood last summer. The food is warm, thick, a little lumpy. You eat it slowly, watching the steam curl upward into the dimness above. After the meal, it's time for the ash to be cleared from the hearth. You do it with a flat stone and a scoop, careful not to scatter soot into the air. The embers are banked to one side. They'll stay hot for hours, smoldering under dried moss and dung. You know how to read the fire now, how to keep it alive without wasting fuel. The longhouse smells of peat and wool, old smoke and animal fat. Not unpleasant, just strong. A lived-in scent, earthy and permanent. The day's labor begins in earnest. Your father lifts the yoke onto your shoulders. It's made from a single curve of pine, rubbed smooth by years of use. 2 buckets hang from ropes at your sides. You are to carry water again, this time for the animals. You trudge back and forth twice, 3 times. The goats bleat. One of them, the brown one with the torn ear, tries to butt you. You shove him gently away and dump the water into the wooden trough. The pigs grunt their approval and dig into the mud. Your cousin joins you to muck the pen. It's foul work. Straw, waste, half-rotted turnips. You gag a little, but you've done worse. He makes a joke. Something about the pigs being cleaner than the neighbors. You laugh quietly. Humor here is dry and quick, like the wind off the sea. Next comes the flax. Your mother sets you to beating it. You carry the stalks to the flat stone outside and begin rhythmically pounding them with a mallet. It's dull, repetitive work. Flax smells sweet and dusty when it breaks. The fibers cling to your sleeves. Nearby, your older sister is spinning thread. Her distaff is tucked under her arm, and the spindle hangs like a pendulum as she draws the wool down in slow, practiced pulls. The motion is hypnotic. She barely looks at what she's doing. The sky shifts from gray to blue. Sunlight warms the yard. Chickens scratch at the earth near your feet, oblivious to your work. A cat slinks by with something in its mouth. A mouse, or the last of someone's breakfast. Someone calls from the neighboring field. It's Sven, the blacksmith's apprentice. He waves a burned hand and asks if your father needs anything repaired. You shake your head. Your tools are still in good order. For now, your father appears, shouldering his axe. Time to gather wood, he says. You nod. No use arguing. The pile is low. You follow him past the fence, up toward the birch stand on the hill. The trees are thin, pale bark flaking like old skin. Your breath puffs in front of you as you climb. The earth here is soft, covered in moss and frost-withered ferns. You search for fallen branches first. No sense cutting live trees if you can help it. Your father checks each one for rot, testing them with his boot. A few are good. You bundle them with twine and carry them back to the path. He fells one small tree clean and quick with 3 swings of the axe. The sound echoes. Birds rise in the distance. He pauses, listens. You do too. Nothing. Just wind, and far off, the splash of waves against the fjord wall. You return home with 2 good bundles. By now it's midday. The sun sits low even at its peak. Winter is coming. The light is already losing its warmth. Your mother has made a stew. Cabbage, turnip, a bone for flavor. You each take your share in silence, eating with slow focus. The baby whines. Your aunt shushes him with a strip of cloth dipped in honey. After the meal, your father takes a whetstone to his tools. The rasping sound of metal on stone blends with the wind outside. You oil the hinges on the barn door. One of the sheep has a limp, you check its hoof and find a small thorn. You pull it out and wash the foot with cold water. No one congratulates you, but they notice. Even that is enough. The afternoon passes in small tasks. Turning compost, checking roof beams, hauling salt-dried fish into storage. Nothing grand, nothing easy, but each thing matters. The sun tilts westward, shadows grow long, and still the day is far from done. Your uncle arrives around mid-afternoon, limping slightly, carrying a sack of peat slung over one shoulder. His cloak is patched and smells of fish, but he brings news from the coast. A merchant ship passed near the bay last night. Frankish by the looks of it. He thinks they were scouting, maybe looking for safe harbor, maybe not. Your father grunts at the news but says little. Everyone's wary of ships. Even peaceful ones bring trouble sometimes. Sickness, rumors, people wanting things you can't spare. The peat is dumped near the fire pit. It will burn slow and hot, better than damp birchwood. You help spread it into a pile beneath the lean-to. Your hands are already coated in dust, the creases of your fingers lined with black. Then comes the weaving. Your mother and sister sit near the wall where the light is strongest, working on a warp-weighted loom. The cloth is brown, thick with lanolin still clinging to the fibers. The loom creaks softly as they beat the weft into place. It smells like sheep and smoke. You sit nearby carding wool. The slow, repetitive work. You drag one wooden paddle over another, teasing apart the fibers, listening to the rhythm of the house. Pot bubbling, the flutter of chicken wings outside, the sharp call of a magpie overhead. In the corner, your grandfather sleeps. His mouth is open slightly, head tilted back against the post. He mutters in his sleep sometimes, old words from stories you don't quite understand. He was once a sailor, lost an eye in Ireland, long before you were born. He doesn't talk about it much anymore. You hear a creak overhead. You look up. The beams in the longhouse groan softly. The whole house shifts slightly with the wind. You're used to it. Every structure breathes here, nothing is fixed. The wood swells with the rain, shrinks in the cold, moans when it wants to. Later, you're sent to check the traps by the tree line. It's your least favorite chore. Not because it's hard, but because you never know what you'll find. The path is narrow, muddy, lined with stone and moss. You walk carefully, listening. The trees are quiet today. You find the first snare empty. The second holds a squirrel, stiff, its fur ruffled, eyes glassy. You undo the trap, tuck it into your pouch. It'll be skinned and added to the stew or maybe dried. At the last trap, you find something different, the remains of a hare half-eaten. The prints nearby are large, clawed. Not dog, something wild. You look around, but see nothing. Still, your pace back home is quicker than before. By the time you return, the light is fading. Evening is drawing near, and still the day goes on. You help bring in the animals. The goats resist, bleating loudly. The pigs are easier. They shuffle in, grumbling, eager for the warmth of the shed. You throw fresh straw into the stalls, refill the water troughs, latch the doors. Your fingers are numb. Inside, the fire is roaring now. The peat crackles and smolders, sending up long trails of smoke that curl toward the rafters. The longhouse smells different now, richer. The scent of cooking meat, of warm milk, of wood and sweat. You sit near the hearth, rubbing your hands. Your sister passes you a cup of warm mead. Just a little, just enough to burn the chill from your chest. Someone plays a lyre. The notes are soft, uncertain. It's your cousin, he's learning. The melody is simple, repetitive, but somehow comforting. It blends with the pop of the fire and the low voices around you. The neighbors begin to arrive. They bring baskets, jars, a wheel of hard cheese wrapped in cloth. Tonight is a sharing night. Not a feast, not quite, but a gathering. You make room. Benches are pulled forward. Cloaks are shaken out and hung near the walls. The stories will come soon. But first, the meal. The evening meal is a slow affair. You sit close to the hearth, the warmth pressing against your side. The stew tonight is better than usual. Richer. It's been thickened with barley, darkened with dried mushrooms your uncle foraged from the low hills, and flavored with wild garlic paste pounded earlier in the day. The squirrel you caught, skinned and cleaned, has added a meaty flavor, and someone brought 2 eggs which were cracked in at the last minute, their yolks vanishing into the swirl. You eat in silence, as is often the way. There's talking, yes, but in low tones with long pauses between. People here know how to let stillness live in the room. A wooden spoon scrapes a bowl. Someone clears their throat. The fire shifts. That's all. The baby whimpers and is passed down the bench to the grandmother, who rocks him gently while whispering something in a mix of lullaby and old prayer. As you eat, your father carves. It's a small piece of driftwood, nothing special. He doesn't speak, just runs his knife in slow, practiced strokes. A bird is taking shape. A raven, maybe, or a gull. Its wings are barely sketched, just the suggestion of feathers. His thumb runs over the grain as if feeling where the spirit hides. The neighbors settle in. Old man Joran speaks little, his breath wheezing softly from his chest. He lost part of one lung to an infection years ago and walks with a limp. His wife, Brita, carries a pouch of dried apples she offers around the room like they're gold coins. The children clamor for them, sticky fingers darting. You take one without a word and chew slowly, savoring the chew of sweetness and fiber. As darkness thickens, someone shuts the outer door. It groans on its hinges. A chill tries to sneak in before the bolt is drawn. The room dims. The only light now is firelight and the red-orange glow from the hearth. Shadows stretch along the walls, dancing over the rough-hewn planks and smoke-darkened beams. And then the stories begin. Your uncle starts. He always does. He leans forward, elbows on knees, eyes gleaming. "Did I ever tell you," he says, "about the time the sea tried to take me?" A murmur of amusement. No, he's told this one before. But that's not the point. The telling is what matters, not the surprise. He begins. The ship was dragging hard to port, oars half broken, one man lost to the waves already, and the sky. He pauses, glancing upward dramatically. The sky had teeth that night, not stars. Teeth. The children are rapt. You smile. You've heard this 10 times, at least, but you listen again, because in the cadence, in the turns of voice and twist of detail, something always changes, something always lives. Someone adds another log to the fire. The dog stirs, lifts its head, and lays it back down with a grunt. After your uncle finishes, another neighbor chimes in. This one's quieter. It's a story about a woman who saw her dead husband in the woods. She says she followed him for half a mile, calling his name, before he turned and opened his mouth and it was full of seawater and ice. There's a silence after that one. Not fear, not exactly. Just reverence. The room shifts. The fire crackles. You wrap your arms around your knees and listen to the wind pressing against the thatch. Your grandfather speaks next. He doesn't speak often, but when he does, the room leans in. His voice is dry, gravelly. He tells a tale of the gods, not a grand saga, but a simple one. Of Thor walking in disguise among men and sitting down at a feast. No one recognized him, he says, until he lifted his ale horn, and thunder answered from the skies. Your brother mutters, "That's just weather." Your mother gives him a look. But even you feel it, that little stir in the gut, that ancient warmth that says, maybe. The tales roll on like slow waves. The bard arrives just as the last bowl is emptied. Not a bard by trade, just young Solveig, who can carry a tune and plays the bone flute better than anyone for 20 miles. She slips in, pulls off her gloves, and grins as someone hands her a horn of ale. She plays a slow tune, something wistful, the kind of melody that makes you think of the sea and missing someone you can't name. Afterward, she hums a story song, a ballad of a fisherman who fell in love with a selkie and followed her into the deep. Her voice wavers just a little, but no one minds. The tune wraps the room like wool. Even the baby has stopped crying now. The fire burns lower. Shadows stretch longer. You help tidy the bowls. Water is fetched. Hands are rinsed. Cloaks are shaken out. A few neighbors take their leave, pulling hoods over their heads and vanishing into the night like figures in a dream. The benches are moved closer to the fire. The floor is swept. The longhouse breathes in, and then it exhales. The hearth is now low, more ember than flame. The orange glow pulses like the last heartbeat of the day. You sit nearby, cross-legged, your eyes heavy. Around you, the house begins to settle into its nighttime rhythm. Not silence, exactly, but soft motion. The kind that carries no urgency. Your sister is folding the woven cloth into a trunk, brushing away ash flecks with the side of her hand. She yawns without covering her mouth, a habit your mother has tried to correct for years. No one bothers tonight. Someone brings out a small pot of tallow for the lamps. It's animal fat mixed with herbs. It smokes a bit when lit, but it keeps the worst of the night shadows at bay. A wick is dipped, then lit, and placed in a metal holder that hangs from a beam. A pale yellow circle is cast over the space. Your mother is braiding the baby's hair. He squirms, sleepy, rubbing his face into her sleeve. She hums again, the same tune as this morning, now slower. It sounds like the wind whispering through pine trees. You spread out the straw bedding with your brother. The layers are old but dry. The animal skins that go on top are warm from hanging near the fire. You arrange them carefully. There is no such thing as soft sleep in a Norse longhouse, but there is warmth, and warmth is everything. Your grandfather is already in his place, wrapped in his thick woolen cloak, leaning back against a sack of grain. He's muttering again, softly, almost chanting. You can't hear the words, and you don't try to. Your uncle pulls out a pipe. Not for smoking, just something to chew. A bit of birch bark folded into a curl. He places it between his teeth and rocks gently as he watches the fire dim. You lie down beside your younger cousin. He fidgets for a while, then stills. Your sister settles beside you. Someone pulls the furs over all of you in one broad sweep. The dog curls up near your feet. Not touching, just close enough to lend its heat. Outside, the wind stirs the trees. A board creaks. The house breathes again. The old timbers shifting, the thatch rustling under the weight of a light frost. Then, as if by silent agreement, the voices stop. There are no goodnights spoken here. People simply stop speaking. The world begins to slow. Even your thoughts. They stretch longer now, more like clouds than ideas. The pressure in your chest softens. Your eyes blink slowly. Once, twice. You can still hear the occasional murmur. Someone turns. Someone coughs. The fire settles with a sigh, like an old animal curling up for its own rest. You think of the tasks tomorrow, more flax, more water, maybe a trip to the coast if the weather holds. You think of the traps and the tracks near the hare. A wolf? Or just a fox? You'll have to check again. But none of that matters now. The sounds become fewer. The warmth of bodies around you becomes a blanket of its own. You feel it in your spine. Not just sleepiness, but surrender. Your bones stop trying to hold you up. And finally, the dark wraps everything. There are no stars to see tonight. Just the quiet, and the closeness, and the soft rhythm of people and animals sharing breath and heat. And that is the end of the first day. You do not sleep all at once. In a Norse longhouse, sleep comes in layers, in fits and waves. It isn't the silence of modern rooms, but something more textured. You hear the crack of a log shifting in the hearth. You hear someone clear their throat and roll over. The longhouse isn't built for silence. It was never meant for solitude. It was meant for survival. And so the night is full of sound. There's the breathing of others, shallow, deep, snoring, whispering. Each person's sleep has its own rhythm. You could identify your sister's exhale from across the house. There's the occasional shifting of animals, the goat bumping a stall wall, the soft thud of hooves as a pig repositions itself. Sometimes a dog growls softly in its sleep. Once there's a sharp bark. Everyone stirs, but no one rises. Not unless it repeats. You're still half awake. Your eyes are closed, but your ears are open. The fire has died down to faintly glowing embers, no longer giving off heat, just presence. You can hear the cold outside now. Not see it, hear it. The way the wind tugs at the thatch. The way frost settles on wooden walls. A creak here, a tightening there. Then footsteps on packed earth. Slow, deliberate. You lift your head slightly, but you already know who it is. The old man. Grandfather. He's always the one who wakes in the middle of the night. Always has. He walks a slow circuit of the house, checking shutters, touching the wooden supports like a priest blessing a chapel. His one eye gleams faintly when it catches a sliver of moonlight through a gap in the wall. He says nothing, just walks. Some say he sees spirits in the night, that the eye he lost to the Irish wasn't truly lost, just moved. Now it sees things we don't. He never denies it. He just shrugs and carries on. You watch him for a few seconds. Then you let your head fall back to the straw. Pokes at your neck, but you don't care. Sleep takes you in again, this time deeper. Longer. When you next blink, open your eyes, the sky is just beginning to lighten. Just a whisper of gray-blue leaking in through the smoke hole. Your mother is already up. Of course she is. She's crouched near the hearth, coaxing the fire back to life. You can hear her blowing. Not hard, but steadily with practiced breath. The embers catch. The fire responds. A glow builds, gentle and orange. Shadows return to the beams above. No words are spoken. She doesn't wake anyone yet. She just begins. A pot is placed over the fire. Water is added. A scrap of dried meat. Some oats. The smell is faint but welcome. Defines your nostrils before your thoughts are fully formed. You stir, stretch, sit up slowly. The cloak slips from your shoulders. The morning cold rushes in and presses against your chest. Your sister blinks at you from across the room. She doesn't speak either, but she smiles. Just for a moment. You put on your tunic again. The same one. No one has more than a few. You cinch the belt, lace your boots, scratch your ribs. Then you're up. The baby begins to cry. A soft whimper at first, then a sharper complaint. Your aunt rises from the pile of bedding, rubbing her eyes, gathering the child up in her arms. She mutters something to soothe him. Not words, exactly, just sound. Something passed down, half lullaby, half spell. The house wakes slowly. Your brother stretches and winces. His arm is sore, too much chopping yesterday. He cracks his knuckles and rubs his elbow, then reaches for the cloak he folded beside him. Outside, the chickens are making noise. The dog is already awake, pawing gently at the door. He wants out. He wants the day. You let him go. The wind that rushes in is sharper than yesterday. There's a smell in it, snow maybe, or distant rain. You breathe it deeply and feel it settle into your lungs like something ancient. This is not a season that waits. Your father emerges from the corner where he sleeps, near the door always, and rolls his shoulders. His eyes scan the room. He takes a mental count of people, tools, and weather. Then he says the first words of the day. Today we cut peat. You nod. You expected as much. But first, the meal. Your mother serves the gruel in bowls still warm from the hearth. It's thinner today, but there's a spoonful of goat butter in each. It softens the taste. You eat in silence, your back against the wall, the bowl balanced on your knees. The cat brushes past your leg. You ignore it. Then you go out. The air is crisper now. The mist is gone. The sky is pale blue, streaked with orange. The fjord reflects the light like polished iron. You walk up the slope with your father, carrying the peat baskets, wrapped in your thickest woolen cloak. The dogs follow at your heels. The bog is 2 hills over. Your boots sink as you walk. The ground here is soft, spongy. You find the cut mark from last year and begin your work, slicing, lifting, stacking. The rhythm is slow but sure. Slice, lift, stack, slice, lift, stack. Your father doesn't talk much while working. He believes in saving breath. But every now and then he hums an old tune older than memory. A wordless line of notes that carries easily in the open air. By midday, you've filled 2 baskets. Your hands are sore, your back aches, but you're learning. This is what it means to last a day. You return from the peat bog slower than when you left. Your father carries one of the heavier baskets. You try not to show your limp, but he sees it anyway and says nothing. That's his way. A lesson lives in the silence. The house is quieter when you return. Most have gone off to their own work, tending to sheep, patching fences, sorting stores before the cold season sets in fully. Your mother is inside, kneeling near a basket of root vegetables, inspecting them one by one. The turnips are soft in spots. The beets have grown eyes. She slices away the rot with the precision of someone who has done this for 3 decades without thinking. She lets you eat before you say a word. A wedge of barley bread, hard and dense, served with clotted milk that's just starting to sour. You dip one into the other and chew slowly while staring into the hearth, which has burned down again to a soft orange pulse. You feel the heat against your knees and your back cold from the door behind. Afterward, you're sent to help at the loom. Your sister shows you how to wind the shuttle through the threads. She's quicker than you, her hands familiar with the tug of flax and the resistance of wool. The loom groans with every pull, its beam creaking against the pressure. You sit beside her on a worn bench with a cushion made of stuffed goat hair. The cushion smells of ash and lanolin. The slow work, and your mind begins to wander. You think of the ship your uncle mentioned. Frankish. What would that be like? Gold rings and foreign spices? Or just lean men with worried eyes, trading furs for fish oil? You've never seen a Frank. Only heard stories. Some say they're short and squat with thick tongues. Others say they wear silk and drink wine at breakfast. You don't know which is more unbelievable. Your sister thwacks the beam down sharply, breaking your thoughts. Stay focused, she says without looking. You do. Mid-afternoon brings another round of chores. This time it's the smokehouse. The cured fish from last month needs to be turned. You walk behind the longhouse to the small timber shed where strips of herring and trout hang from iron hooks. The air here is thicker, full of salt and smoke, and the faint sting of dried brine. It sticks in your throat, but not in a bad way. It smells like winter insurance, like hunger held off. You turn the fish slowly, careful not to break the brittle edges. Some of the trout has curled into stiff ribbons. You imagine chewing it months from now, by a smaller fire, in deeper snow. As you work, you hear a distant call. Voices, then hooves. You step outside. A rider approaches, just one, wrapped in fur with a hood drawn low. The horse is panting, its breath rising in clouds. It's Eric from the neighboring settlement, 2 valleys over. He pulls the horse short, dismounts without a word, and walks directly to your father, who's sharpening a blade near the side of the barn. They talk in low voices. You can't hear everything, but you hear the word bandits, and you see your father's jaw tighten. Later, at the evening meal, the men gather. Not just your father, but others, your uncle, the smith, the herdsman, even the one-eyed elder who hasn't held a weapon in 10 winters. They speak with heads leaned in, bowls forgotten in their hands. Your brother leans close to you. 3 carts stolen near the coast road, he whispers. No bodies, just missing. They think it's the Skellersons again. You nod but say nothing. You've heard of them. A loose band of exiles, men with no village, living in the forests and preying on the weak. Your father once said they were cowards, but not fools. Still, the mood shifts. The gathering ends earlier that night. No songs, no stories. Just the sound of cleaning up, the soft clink of bowls being stacked, and the low mumble of adults talking while the children are ushered to bed. You're allowed to stay up a little longer. You watch your father oil the hinges on the door. He moves slowly, deliberately. Every motion has a reason. Nothing wasted. He slides the bolt shut with a sharp click. Later, you lie down in the straw again. The fire is lower than before. The room is colder. The wind whistles through a tiny gap in the wall, and you pull your cloak tighter around your shoulders. You can't sleep right away. You keep thinking of the horse's breath, of Eric's sharp eyes, of missing carts and silent woods. But eventually, your body overrules your brain. You drift, and the longhouse sleeps once again. The next morning is darker. The sky has changed. Heavy clouds roll overhead, and the light takes longer to come. Rain, maybe, or snow. You hear it in the way the birds sound, less frequent, more urgent. Your father wakes you with a nudge. "Fetch the tools," he says. "We'll check the traps early." You don't argue. Outside, the frost crunches underfoot. Your breath curls from your lips. The grass is slick with dew, and your boots slip as you walk. The dog pads ahead, sniffing the trail, alert. You reach the treeline faster this time. The traps are mostly empty. One holds a crow, strangled in its own hunger. Another has been sprung, but whatever triggered it left no trace. Just broken twigs and disturbed dirt. Then you find tracks. Fresh. Deer? No. Heavier. Longer stride. Deeper. You kneel beside them. Your father crouches next to you. "Not ours," he says, almost to himself. You follow them for a short distance, just enough to see where they go. Then he shakes his head and turns back. "We'll speak to the others." There's no panic in his voice, but there's something else. Readiness. Calculation. Back at the house, your mother is boiling water. She's added wild mint to the pot today. It smells sharp, fresh. You hold the cup with both hands and drink slowly, letting the heat warm you from the inside out. Your sister braids her hair while walking. She can do it without a mirror, her fingers moving fast and exact. You admire her for that. You all eat quickly, no stew today, just thick bread and small bites of cheese. Enough to move with. And then the day continues. The clouds never lift. By midday, the sky is still a dull pewter gray, and the air hangs thick with dampness. It hasn't rained yet, but it threatens to. Every gust of wind brings the smell of wet soil and far-off moisture. Your cloak clings to your shoulders, the wool heavy and reluctant to dry from yesterday's peat gathering. You help your mother gather herbs from the garden. It's not really a garden. More a flattened patch of dirt near the southern wall of the house, sheltered from the wind and marked off with worn river stones. The dill is going to seed. The parsley has yellowed. Only the thyme remains sharp and green, its small, waxy leaves resisting the weather. You pluck carefully, pinching stems just above the second knot, as you've been taught. Your mother doesn't say much while you work, but once, as she ties a bunch of tansy into a loop with string made from twisted nettle fiber, she mutters, "We'll need more for the births." You don't ask who is expecting. She'll tell you when it matters. Inside the house, the men have gathered again. This time they're sorting weapons, not with panic, but with caution. Swords aren't pulled out unless someone means to use them. Axes, however, are another matter. Axes are tools first, weapons second. And today, most of them lie sharpened and lined along the wall, their oiled heads glinting faintly even in the dim light. Your uncle tests a spear tip with his thumb and winces as it pricks his skin. A drop of blood wells up and he laughs. "Still sharp," he says. Your brother nods, eyes wide. The elders debate whether the Skellersons would be foolish enough to raid this deep into settled land. "They don't usually go past the coast road," one man says. "They're too wary of the hill clans." Another shakes his head. "Desperation makes men braver than they should be." You step out again to fetch more water from the stream. The bucket handle is cold, worn smooth by years of use. The path is muddy, slippery from the mist. As you descend the small slope to the water's edge, you notice hoofprints in the mud. Not yours. Not fresh. At least a day old, but deep. You crouch down, place your hand next to one, and feel the indent. The edges are still rounded, not dried. You glance around, woods to the east, the open field behind. You hurry back up the hill without filling the bucket. Your father takes one look at your face and sets down the bundle of kindling he's carrying. "Show me." You lead him to the spot. He kneels, studies the print, says nothing. Then, after a long pause, he says, "We post watches tonight. That evening, supper is a quiet thing. You sit on the bench with a bowl of stew that's more broth than meal. A few slivers of turnip, one piece of salted fish, and some oats that thicken the liquid. It tastes better than it looks, probably thanks to the time you helped gather. Still, no one lingers over their food. The fire is stoked higher than usual. The shadows stretch long against the beams above. You notice that your father has moved his sleeping spot. He now lies closer to the door, the axe he sharpened earlier resting beside him within easy reach. Your brother whispers across the fire, "Do you think they'll come tonight?" You shrug and say, "Honestly, if they're smart, no." He nods, pulling the fur up around his shoulders. The dog lies at the threshold, ears flicking at every gust of wind. His body is still but alert. You envy that, the ability to rest without fully relaxing, to listen without showing fear. Sleep comes in slow waves again. You drift for a while, then wake as someone moves nearby, then drift again. Sometime before dawn, a loud crack echoes from the woods. Everyone sits up at once. The fire flares as someone throws on a log. Men grab for their weapons. The dog barks sharply once, then growls. The children clutch at blankets. A baby starts crying. Your father goes to the door. He holds up a hand, not for silence, but for stillness. Then another sound, not a crack this time, but a long scraping noise, like wood against bark. Your uncle moves beside him. Together, they lift the wooden bar and push the door open just a crack. The wind rushes in. No rain, no snow, just cold and a scent. Pine and something burnt, then silence. A long one, too long. Your father steps out into the dark, holding a torch. The flame casts a flickering halo around him. He moves slowly, his boots soft against the wet earth. You and your brother lean forward, peering out from behind the doorway. Nothing. Then a shadow moves, fast, but not toward the house, toward the stream. He calls back, "It's gone." Everyone exhales. The door closes. The bar is slid back into place. Your uncle says, "A scout, testing the edge." Your father only nods. Everyone lies back down, but no one really sleeps again that night. The sky brightens slowly. Dawn feels less like a gift today and more like a warning. The clouds remain thick, but a pale gray light creeps across the fields. The morning meal is skipped. Instead, people sharpen, stack, tie bundles of dry wood, move quietly. By mid-morning, another rider arrives. This one from the southern coast, helmet strapped tight, with an axe strapped across his back. He's young but grim-faced. He speaks quickly. You catch only fragments. 3 houses burned. 1 gone missing. Livestock taken. Smoke on the ridge. The men gather. Plans are made. A signal fire is to be lit tonight. If it flares blue, trouble is near. If it flares red, you run. If nothing happens, you wait. Your task is to help move food from the storehouse into the hollow below the hill, where it'll be safer, hidden. You carry sacks of dried fish, skins of mead, baskets of rye. The slow work, but it keeps your hands moving, which keeps your mind still. As you walk back from the hollow, you stop near the stone ring where your grandfather sits. He looks up, squinting into the low sun. "You think they'll come?" you ask. He doesn't answer at first, just stares at the horizon. Then softly, "Everything comes eventually. It's how you greet it that matters." You nod, not fully understanding, but comforted all the same. That evening, the fire is lit higher than it's been all season. Casts bold shadows and no one tells stories. Not tonight. No songs. Just the fire. And the waiting. You lie near your brother. Your eyes won't close. The wind rattles the walls again. And you wonder, not for the first time, if you were a raider, would you come tonight? Or would you wait until the fire burned low? The longhouse is still, but not asleep. The fire flickers low, casting long shadows that dance along the soot-stained beams above. Each flame moves like a whispered warning, cautious, gentle, and alive with memory. You lie there, wrapped in your woolen cloak, the rough fabric pressed against your cheek. The scent of smoke lingers in every thread. Your eyes are open, not because you want them to be, but because something inside you refuses to rest. You hear your brother's breathing, slow but shallow. He's awake too. Across the room, the dog sleeps facing the door, his ears alert even in dreams. His back rises and falls in a slow rhythm, but when the wind hits the side of the house with just the right note, a low, distant whine through the planks. His ears twitch and his paw presses slightly harder into the dirt. You don't speak. No one does. Even the youngest child, who would normally whimper in their sleep, lies silent tonight, as if the whole household has agreed to breathe as one, gently and without sound. Outside, the wind speaks in long phrases now. Through the pine trees, across the frosted grass, under the low eaves of the house. It's a voice you know, older than the settlement, older than even the stories your grandfather tells. You close your eyes and see it. The coast road, lit only by starlight, slick with fog. A single figure moving through it, slow and careful, footfalls hushed in moss. A bough slung over one shoulder. Not a raider, a watcher. A man paid in silence to know what's coming before it arrives. You wonder if one of those men is watching now, or if one is being watched. You roll over slowly, adjusting the blanket to cover your shoulder. The straw beneath you crunches softly, not enough to draw attention. You feel the ache in your legs from yesterday's plowing, the sting in your palms where the skin stretched too tight around the axe handle. Then a creak, not wood in the wind, not the settling of old beams, but a footstep. You freeze. The dog lifts his head. Another creak. Closer now. Your father is already sitting up. So is your uncle. They move quietly, without rushing. They don't grab for weapons yet. Just listen. Another sound. This time not from outside. From the roof. Thud faint but real, like something small being dropped. Or caught. Your father points toward the door. Your uncle nods. No one says a word. The children lie still, eyes wide, faces lit only by fire glow. Then your mother stands. She doesn't flinch. She walks calmly to the hearth, picks up the iron poker, and stokes the fire, louder than needed. A signal. If someone's listening, they'll think the house is busy, unworried. If someone's watching, they'll see firelight and movement. Normal things, but it's not normal. You feel it. The stillness outside has weight now, like the moment before the first arrow flies. But then, nothing. A full minute passes. Then another. The roof creaks again, but only with the shifting of frost. The dog lowers his head. Your father sits back, leaning against the wall, still awake but not alarmed. You release the breath you didn't know you were holding. Slowly, sleep returns. First to the children, then to the tired, then to you. Your body sinks again into the familiar discomfort of straw and fur and with smoke and winter breath. The fire fades into a low orange hue, like the final memory of sunlight. Outside, the moon appears, just a sliver, behind the edge of the clouds. It glows silver on the hilltops, soft as wool, silent as regret. By morning, no one will speak of what didn't happen, but they'll all remember, because in the Viking Age, survival isn't marked by victories. It's marked by nights like this, where nothing happens, and that nothing means everything. And so the chapter closes, not with a clang of swords or the shout of raiders, but with breath, warmth, and the slow surrender of a weary house to sleep. Tomorrow the sun will rise, and the work will begin again. Chapter 2. A day in a Viking town market. The sun rises pale and reluctant. The morning fog curls low over the hills like it doesn't want to leave, and the ground beneath your boots is soft with frost. A few patches crunch beneath your steps as you walk down the slope past the stream. The bucket you usually carry for water is now strapped to a pack slung over your shoulder, filled not with peat or milk, but a few things your family hopes to trade. Today is market day. Not every settlement holds a market, but yours is close to Skarlvik, a town near the fjord's southern mouth. It isn't a city, not even by Viking standards, but to you it feels enormous, loud, broad, strange. It's where strangers come, with fabrics dyed in foreign colors and coins stamped with kings whose names you've only heard in stories. You're not going alone. Your father walks beside you, axe across his back, not for trade, but for the road. Beside him is your older cousin, Svanhild, with a pouch of woven goods and a bundle of herbs wrapped in cloth. She is sharp-tongued, clever with silver, and has a reputation for not being cheated twice. Behind her comes old Ulf, dragging a cart with 2 wooden wheels and a squeak that never leaves it. The cart holds a barrel of dried fish, a stack of firewood, and your family's best piece. A carved comb made from reindeer antler, polished smooth as bone. The walk to Skarlvik takes nearly 2 hours. The road is more of a trek, pitted and narrow, marked by wagon ruts and the occasional muddy patch where pigs have crossed ahead of you. You pass other families along the way. Some you know by name, others you only recognize by the way they walk or the particular dogs that follow them. People don't speak much on the road. Conversation is saved for the market. At the crest of the final hill, the view opens. Skarlvik lies below. Its long wooden hall visible from here, dark-roofed and wide-shouldered, surrounded by smaller buildings that sprawl toward the shore. Smoke rises from several hearths. Boats bob in the narrow inlet, tied to wooden stakes driven deep into the rocky shore. The market square is a muddy oval, bordered by planked walkways and booths with sagging awnings. Already, the low murmur of voices carries on the wind. You descend the hill and step into the noise. Surrounds you immediately. Voices rise and fall. Someone shouts about salt prices. A child laughs, chased by another. A dog barks, then another. The iron bell at the smithy clangs as its owner adjusts something heavy on an anvil. The scent of smoke, seaweed, and cooking fish drifts through the air like an accidental stew. You follow your father toward a gap between stalls. He doesn't say anything, but he nods toward a space beside a thatched roof where you're meant to set up. You help unload the cart. The goods are arranged quickly. Fish stacked on straw, firewood lined like ribs, the carved comb placed carefully on a folded cloth. Svanhild hangs her bundles on a nail she drives into a nearby post. Then she cracks her knuckles and smiles. Let the haggling begin. Not far away, someone starts to play a flute. Not expertly. It squeals at the high notes, but cheerfully. The tune is fast and light. Children gather to listen. A boy juggles 3 carved apples with more hope than skill. You move between stalls. Some are familiar. A woman who sells honey from hives kept 3 valleys over. A man who roasts onions on hot stones. Others are new. A trader with black wool cloaks and pale, scarred hands. His accent is strange, and he smiles with only one side of his mouth. You pause at a booth with knives. They're not large, but they are well made. The hilts are wrapped in braided hide, and the blades are shiny, recently polished. The trader sees you looking. From Hedeby, he says, tapping one of the blades. Strong as sea iron. Hold it if you like. You glance toward your father. He's watching but doesn't stop you. You lift the knife. It's heavier than it looks, cold, sharp-edged, but balanced. The trader leans forward. Give me the fish and the comb, and I'll throw in a pouch with it. You raise an eyebrow. The comb alone is worth more than that. He laughs. You've been taught well. You hand the knife back and move on. Later, you stop at the mead booth. The seller is an old man with a long white beard, plaited into 3 knots. He offers you a taste on the tip of a wooden spoon. It's strong and sweet, and you cough slightly after swallowing. He smiles, revealing a gap where 2 front teeth once were. You're first. You nod. He hands you a small cup. One for your father, then. Nearby, Svanhild is deep in conversation with a cloth merchant. She holds a square of blue fabric between her fingers, rubbing it, lifting it to the light, sniffing it even. Dyed with woad or trickery? She asks. Woad. The merchant insists. She shakes her head. Woad doesn't smell like this. You used cabbage water and crushed beetle. You hope it won't run in the rain. The merchant frowns, then drops the price by half. You grin. By mid-morning, your family has traded 2/3 of what they brought. In return, you've gained a bag of oats, a new awl for leather, a thick pair of socks, and a tiny iron pendant in the shape of Thor's hammer. Your father gives it to you without ceremony. You place it around your neck and let it rest against your chest. It's warm from his hand. Just before noon, a skald begins to speak. He stands atop an overturned barrel, long cloak trailing the muddy ground, voice already rising. A small crowd gathers. You move closer. He tells a story of Ragnar Harrybreeches, of how he fought a Saxon warrior twice his size with nothing but a curved stick and clever words. It's not a new tale, but he tells it well, mimicking voices, pausing for effect, drawing gasps from children and quiet laughter from elders who've heard it before. When he finishes, he bows, and a few people toss coins or dried mushrooms into his pouch. One woman offers a baked apple. He accepts all with thanks. Then he sings, not loudly, not like a warrior's boast, but soft, a song about winter and missing someone. The tune is old, maybe older than Skarlvik itself. It ends with no applause, just silence. Then the crowd drifts apart, slower than before, as if the song has added weight to their steps. You find yourself near the water by early afternoon. The tide is low, and the boats rest heavy on the pebbled shore. Some are docked neatly, their sails tied, hulls smeared with tar. Others lean at angles, half loaded with barrels, coils of rope, salted cod in linen sacks. A group of boys toss stones into the waves, each trying to outdo the other with how far they can skip them. Their laughter rises in bursts, unbothered by the wind. You pause near the fisher's stall, a thickly built woman with broad shoulders and a voice that carries over the waves. She gestures at her catch. Flounder, herring, a few long thin eels that still writhe faintly on the salted boards. Fresh from the bay, she says to no one in particular, though you're the one standing nearest. You nod politely. Was it a good haul? She shrugs. Better than yesterday, worse than last spring. Same as always. Then she adds, don't buy the eels. They're angry this week. You smile. It's not a joke exactly, but it feels like one. As you turn, you catch sight of something unusual. A booth at the far edge of the square, set apart from the others. There's no awning, just a cloth draped over a simple frame. The man behind the table is seated, hunched slightly forward, his face hidden by a wide hood. He isn't calling out to passers-by, isn't arranging his goods, just sitting, watching. Your curiosity against better judgment pulls you closer. Laid out before him are objects you don't see in ordinary trade. A piece of carved amber shaped like a woman's face, a glass bead in blue and yellow spiral, and strangest of all, a small bronze figurine, no taller than your thumb, shaped like a bird. Its wings are folded tight, and the metal is etched with fine, curling lines like wind across water. You pick it up. The man doesn't stop you. The bronze is cool, heavier than it looks. From across the Baltic, he says, his voice dry and quiet. They call it Windbird, carried by sailors for luck. You look up. His face is mostly shadowed, but you glimpse a long scar near his mouth. His eyes are pale, almost colorless. How much? You ask, still holding the figure. Too much, he says and chuckles softly. You smile, place it back, and walk away. He doesn't try to stop you. Later, you rejoin your father and Svanhild near the mead stall. They've finished the last trade, 4 firewood bundles for a jar of goose fat and a promise to deliver eggs next market day. Svanhild looks tired, but pleased. They offered me 2 silver for the comb, she says, as you walk toward the cart. I said no. They'll want it more next time. You nod. You're starting to understand how she works. At the cart, Ulf is already loading the last of the sacks. He wipes his brow with a stained sleeve. Sun's going, he mutters and nods toward the west. It's true. The light has shifted. Shadows now stretch longer across the planks of the square, and the noise has softened. People pack up their stalls. Dogs grow restless. Children are called back by name one by one. Even the music has stopped. The walk home is slower. The cart's heavier. The wind is stronger. You wrap your cloak tighter around you as the sky begins to dim, deepening from silver to charcoal. You pass by others returning to distant farmsteads, all trudging uphill, faces quiet, each family carrying different burdens. Someone leads a goat that won't stop bleeding. Another drags a wheelbarrow with a cracked axle. A girl walks beside a pony so small her feet nearly drag on the ground. Nobody speaks much, except Svanhild. She walks beside you, chewing on a stalk of dried licorice root, and recounts every deal she made that day. He thought I didn't know salt from chalk, she scoffs. So I let him talk himself down 2 whole shells. Your father chuckles once, quietly. At the crest of the final hill, you pause again. Below, your home valley glows faintly in the dying light. The smoke from the longhouse rises steady. The animals are penned in. You feel the same strange mix of relief and fatigue you always feel returning from Skarlvik. As if the world just got smaller again, but safer. As the sky darkens fully, you arrive home. Inside, the fire is rekindled. The warmth is immediate. The smell of earth and ash and stew clings to everything. Your mother is already at the hearth. She smiles when she sees you, then flicks her eyes to the sacks. "Anything good?" "Goose fat," says your father. "Better than last time," she replies, and begins ladling soup into wooden bowls. The meal is quiet, not solemn, just content. Even the baby is asleep early. The embers crackle gently. The dog curls beside the hearth, nose tucked under one paw. You feel the pendant beneath your tunic, the small iron hammer, slightly cool still. Tomorrow, the world will shrink again to fields and tools and the regular pace of chores. But for tonight, it feels full, like you've stepped one toe into something bigger. And the silence feels earned. The soup isn't extravagant, but it is satisfying. Barley, crushed and slow-cooked in goat stock. A few slices of carrot. A handful of dried nettle, added just before the pot was pulled from the flames. There's salt today, real salt, not crushed rock or kelp ash. That in itself feels like a feast. You sit with your legs folded beneath you, back resting against the wood wall. The timber is warm from the hearth, smooth from years of human contact. You hold your bowl steady and blow across the top before taking the first spoonful. Your mother sits across from you. She chews slowly, her eyes half-lidded, tired in a way that has nothing to do with sleep. She's already thinking about tomorrow's dough, about the holes in the chicken coop, about the dye pots she'll need to clean when the weather softens. Svanhild is still talking, now to your uncle, recapping a ridiculous haggling session with a cloth seller who tried to pass off old sheep's wool as new lamb's fleece. "I asked him where the lamb's horns had gone, if the wool was so fresh," she says, grinning into her spoon. "He told me the gods took them as a toll." There's laughter, small but real. The fire crackles. Someone tosses on another log. A gift from today's trade, no doubt. It hisses for a moment, wet from the wind, but catches soon enough. The rest of the household trickles in slowly. Your grandfather takes his usual seat near the inner post, leaning his back against the carved support beam. His hands tremble as he lifts the spoon, but no one offers to help him. That would be rude. He gets through his meal in his own time. Afterwards, he wipes his hands on a rag, clears his throat, and begins a story. He does this most nights. Not always the same one. Not always the same length, but always when the mood is quiet and the fire is steady. Tonight, it's a story about his own grandfather, a man who once met a Sami witch in the mountains and got her to bless his boots in exchange for a bag of dried apples. "The boots never wore out," he says, his voice scratchy with age. "But the apples gave her a toothache, so she cursed his goat. The poor thing only walked in circles for the rest of the season." The children laugh, not because it's especially funny, but because they're supposed to. You smile. You've heard this one before, at least 3 times, but it's always a little different. That's part of the magic. The elders lean in as the tale winds on. He's good at weaving silence into his stories, leaving gaps that let your own imagination fill in the dark corners. It's not what he says that makes the story stay. It's what he doesn't say. When he finishes, he leans back, closes his eyes, and says no more. Your father tosses a pine cone into the flames. It sparks brightly, then collapses into orange dust. He nods once toward the roof beams. "The roof gods like that," he mutters. You glance up. At the edge where the thatch meets the beam, 3 wooden idols are lashed in place. Tiny carved figures, no taller than a child's hand, representing household spirits, protectors, guardians. No one prays to them aloud, but everyone acknowledges them. Offerings are left. Pine cones, bits of bone, sometimes bread crusts, just enough to keep the balance. Your aunt rises and sets out a small dish near the hearth. Goat milk, warmed, with a single scrap of dried apple floating inside. It's placed beside the fire, not for anyone living, but for any wandering spirit that might pass near the door. Hospitality, even in silence, matters here. Outside, the wind has picked up again. You can hear it tugging at the thatch, sighing through the gap under the door. The dog shifts, then rises and pads slowly to the threshold. He sniffs once, then curls up again, satisfied that no visitors are coming tonight. A game of taffle has started in the corner. Your cousin places pieces slowly, thoughtfully, dragging each bone token to a new square. The defending king is nearly surrounded, but not quite. You watch for a while, amused that no one ever agrees on the rules, yet still everyone plays. You sip what's left of your soup and listen, not just to the voices but to everything: the crack of the fire, the scrape of bone against wood, the rhythmic tapping of a spoon as someone stirs a pot of leftover porridge, the settling creak of the longhouse frame, the soft, almost inaudible hum your mother makes when she thinks no one's listening. All these sounds are part of the place, of the night. Someone near the door mutters about checking the traps in the morning. Someone else whispers a quiet hope that it won't snow this week. Svanhild mentions she saw the traitor again, the one with only one good eye, and how he asked after the family. He says the roads are closing early this year, that the sea's grown greedy. Your father nods. The gods are always hungry at winter's edge. The fire shifts again, and slowly people begin to stretch, to sigh, to tuck themselves under furs and wool. The conversation winds down not because anyone demands it, but because the day's weight has finally sunk in. The longhouse breathes slower now. Even the dog no longer lifts his head when a log is added to the hearth. You lie back against your usual corner, watching the fire cast shadows along the beams. The carved gods are still there, still watching. The milk in the offering bowl steams faintly, untouched. You reach into your tunic and feel the iron pendant, the hammer warm from your skin. You don't say anything, but for a moment, just a breath or two, you close your eyes and think about the market. The voices, the faces, the music. The man with the bronze bird. The girl with the cloth. The old skald singing about longing. You think about the distance between people, how some speak boldly and others barely at all. And yet the market still happens. Every week, no matter the weather. The world large and small at once. The fire crackles. And slowly, gently, sleep begins to fold itself over your body like a second blanket. You don't fight it. The day is done. Tomorrow the chores return. But for now the night is quiet. And the longhouse rests. The meal is finished. But no one rushes to leave the fire. They sit where they are, back straight or bent, hands on knees or folded, each lost in their own small moment of stillness. Outside, the wind presses harder against the doorframe. It moans once, then quiets again, leaving behind only the soft pop of pine sap in the hearth. Your father reaches for his knife and a block of wood. With the quiet confidence of repetition, he begins to whittle. Slow curls of bark falling one by one to the floor. A shape emerges. Not quickly, not clearly, just gradually. Like most things here, he doesn't say what it is. He never does. Your grandfather clears his throat, and the firelight catches in his eyes. He begins another story. This one is softer than the last, less humorous, more like a breath remembered. He speaks of the winter the ice came early, so thick the well froze to the bottom, of how his mother melted snow in clay bowls, only to have it refreeze before she could carry it inside, of how they survived on dried seaweed and pickled fishtails, and how his father, your great-grandfather, refused to eat until the youngest child had taken 3 bites. He died with a smile, he says, because he knew his children were warm. No one says anything, not because it's sad, but because it's true. The silence that follows is not heavy. It's not uncomfortable. It's simply full. Full of breath, of memory, of firelight, of lives worn like cloaks. Patched, passed down, threadbare in places, but still strong. You stare into the flames, and the flames stare back. Later, when most have drifted toward their straw beds or tucked under woolen blankets, you remain seated. Just a while longer. The fire is still alive, though slower now. More ember than flame. The room smells of smoke, sweat, dried fish, and wood ash. It's not unpleasant. Just particular. Just true. Svanhild sits beside you. She's still awake too. She picks at a splinter in her sleeve, then glances sideways. "You saw the bronze bird, didn't you?" she asks quietly. You blink. She saw you at the market, then. You nod. She smiles faintly. "I used to want one, when I was small. I thought if I had it, I'd never get lost. Even in the dark." You consider asking why she didn't buy it. But you don't. She already has a talisman. A woven charm made of red thread and boar hair, tied around her wrist. She made it herself. Said it was for safe travel. It hasn't come off in 3 winters. You turn back to the fire. "It's easy to get lost," you say, almost without meaning to. She nods, but says nothing more. Outside, the sky clears. The clouds part like curtains, and the stars emerge. Scattered and countless, cold and bright. They seem nearer in winter, closer as if leaning down to listen. The moon is a clean silver crescent, just strong enough to lay shadows on the frost. You stand at the threshold for a while, wrapped in your cloak, watching. The world is silent now. No carts, no bartering voices, no laughter over ale, just wind, and the slow breath of the trees, and, somewhere in the distance, the soft hoot of an owl. You think about the market, about the way it blooms and fades in a single day, about how people come together in such mess and noise, and then vanish back into their own quiet corners, about how it all happens again and again and again, the same barters, the same arguments, the same stories. And yet, it matters, connects people, keeps them alive. It keeps the longhouse warm and the shelves stocked and the roof mended. You think about the Skald's song, the one Svanhild liked. The words weren't fancy, but they lingered. Winter winds, come take me slow, where the sea's breath makes the fire glow, where old hands work and young hearts grow, in lands the gods forgot. You don't know why it sticks, but it does. Inside, the fire is mostly coals now. The offering bowl, milk, and dried apple still sits near the hearth. The milk is cold. The apple has sunk. You leave it. The gods or the spirits or the wind, they'll take it or they won't. You lie down on your straw bedding, pull the blanket to your shoulders and close your eyes. Someone nearby shifts under a fir. A child snores softly. A beam creaks above you. And then stillness. Sleep doesn't come fast, but it comes. Slowly, softly, like a story told so many times that the words no longer matter. Only the rhythm and the voice and the knowing that it will carry you all the way through the dark. And so ends the second chapter. A quiet story not of conquest, but of continuity. Not of war horns or fame, but of bartered fish, carved spoons, silent gods, and shared bread. This was a day in the life of those who survived the Viking Age not through steel or song, but through patience, tradition, and the steady breath of generations. Tomorrow begins again, and the market will return, and the stories will too. Chapter 3. Life aboard a Viking ship, a day at sea. The air tastes different at sea. Even before the sun appears, you know you've left land behind. The salt is in your throat, your eyes, your skin. You feel it settle into your clothes, stiffening the wool, clinging to your hair. Everything smells faintly of brine and rope and wood soaked too many times in spray. You're aboard a longship now, and the longhouse feels like a memory. The ship is called Fjordglimt, which means glimmer of life. A name carved into her side long ago, half-worn now, though still legible in morning light. She's a workhorse of a vessel, long, lean, with 20 or ports per side, each marked by use and weather. The sail is furled for now. No wind, so the oars speak. Thick ash wood, shaved and sanded by calloused hands. Each one shaped for grip and repetition. You pull yours from its resting notch and place it into the loop of rope that holds it firm. It's heavy, not in the arm but in the rhythm. Rowing is not one motion. It is hundreds, thousands, one after another until your body forgets it's even trying. The sun has not yet risen above the horizon, but already the helmsman is calling the count. His voice isn't loud, not yet. Just steady. 1, 2, 3. The oars enter the water in imperfect unison. Splash, creak, breathe. Splash, creak, breathe. You fall into the rhythm like a lullaby in reverse. It doesn't make you sleep. It makes you real, present, awake in every muscle and every minute. To your left, a boy barely old enough to shave rows in silence, teeth clenched against the ache in his shoulders. His knuckles are red and split. He doesn't stop. To your right, an older man, maybe your father's age, rows with smooth ease. His arms are like rope, his eyes half closed, his breathing slow. You don't know his name, but you recognize the rhythm in him. He's done this before, often. Behind you, the mast groans slightly as the ship flexes against the current. Above you, gulls circle. Their cries are sharp, distant. Their wings catch the faintest lavender hint of the coming sun. Your feet rest against a wedge of worn plank. Your knees bend, your back pulls. The water stretches out in all directions. Land is still visible, faintly, as a dark line low behind the ship. But each stroke pushes it farther away. And soon it will vanish. At mid-morning, the wind stirs, barely more than a breeze, but enough. The sail is unfurled. Canvas, thick and oiled, red-striped and patched. It billows slowly, then pulls taut with a soft whump that rolls through the crew like a held breath finally released. The oars are lifted and lashed to the sides. Arms sag, shoulders relax. Some men lie back, panting. Others sip water from leather bags or pass around dried fish. One of the rowers, a man missing 2 fingers on his left hand, begins to hum under his breath. A low tune, wordless. You let your hands fall into your lap, feeling the blood return. The blisters on your palms have reopened. The salt water doesn't help, but you don't complain. This is the sea's price. The sun is up now, a soft gold, filtered through a veil of mist that lingers just above the water. The world feels distant, hushed, as though the sea holds its own silence and only lets the sky borrow it when the wind is right. You look around the deck. The helmsman stands steady near the stern, one hand on the tiller. His eyes never stop scanning the waves, the sail, the horizon. His beard is wind-plated, his skin like cured leather. He hasn't spoken in an hour. He doesn't need to. 2 boys bail water from the hull, scooping from shallow puddles with hollowed wooden bowls. The ship is tight, well-maintained, but water always finds its way aboard. Near the mast, a skald reclines with his head resting on a coil of rope. He has a harp, strung with horsehair, but he hasn't played it yet. He watches the clouds, blinking slowly, as if composing a line he'll never share aloud. The sea is calm, but not idle. Waves lap against the hull with gentle insistence, each one pressing its rhythm into the wood. You feel it through your boots, your legs, your spine. Constant, rocking reminder that you are not the master here. Far ahead, a faint dark smudge appears on the horizon. Another ship? An island? No one reacts yet. They've seen too many mirages to trust first sights. By noon, the sun is high and unkind. Its heat bakes the deck, turns the sail into a glowing curtain. Sweat beads on every brow. The helmsman tightens the sail's angle, muttering about crosswinds and cloudless skies. You chew a strip of salted meat. It's tough, dry, and stringy. You chew it anyway. The ship slows slightly. The breeze has turned playful, not forceful. So the oars are unlashed again. No command, just habit. Everyone knows. Back to the rhythm. Splash, creak, breathe. The sky stretches overhead in a dome of pale blue. The water glistens, nearly white with reflected light. Somewhere nearby, a fish leaps, silver flash, then gone. And you row. You row not because you're going somewhere, but because not rowing means drifting. And drifting is surrender. By mid-afternoon, the island is real. Not large, just a tooth of rock rising from the water, green on top, gull-covered. No trees, no beach, just rock and grass and the sharp smell of seabird droppings. But it matters, because it marks a point on the map. Not a map written in ink, but in memory. The helmsman grunts. He knows where you are now. Only a few more hours to the next stop. No harbor, of course. Just a cove where the water is shallow and the rocks are few. That will be enough. You rest for a while, then return to the oars. Again, always again. The sun begins to lower, its light softening, brushing the waves with amber. The sky turns hazy near the horizon. The sea darkens. The wind rises again, just enough to lift the sail and give the crew relief. As the ship cuts forward, the skald finally lifts his harp. The strings hum, low and trembling, and his voice, when it comes, is cracked and quiet. But it carries. Oars in morning, salt at noon. Stars will rise, but not too soon. Row, brothers, row till eyes go blind, and dream of hearths we left behind. The evening tide pulls the longship closer to the rocky cove. The wind has softened to a gentle breeze, carrying the salty scent of seaweed and brine. The sky is streaked with streaks of pink and lavender, the sun dipping low and casting long, golden fingers across the water. The waves lap rhythmically against the hull, a steady, soothing sound that speaks of endless journeys and distant shores. The helmsman calls out softly, signaling to the crew to prepare for anchoring. Oars are lifted from the water and lashed securely to the side of the ship. The sailors move with practiced efficiency, their movements measured and precise despite the weariness that tugs at their limbs. Your arms ache from the day's labor, muscles sore and burning beneath the weight of the relentless rowing. But the anticipation of rest keeps you moving, the promise of dry land and warmth pushing you forward. The ship draws into the cove, the shallow water making the keel scrape softly against the rocky bottom. The helmsman expertly guides the vessel between jagged outcroppings, avoiding submerged rocks hidden beneath the shimmering surface. Once anchored, the crew begins the familiar ritual of lowering the sail and securing it tightly to the mast. The canvas folds like a great, tired wing, settling against the mast with a soft, rustling sound. You step carefully onto the uneven stones of the shore, the cold biting through your boots as you adjust your cloak against the evening chill. The air here is thick with the cries of seabirds nesting on the cliffs above, their calls echoing across the water. Nearby, fires are lit along the rocky shore, small, flickering flames that cast dancing shadows against the darkening landscape. The scent of burning driftwood mingles with the salty tang of the sea, creating a comforting, familiar aroma. You join the others as they unload supplies from the ship. Barrels of fresh water are carried ashore, along with sacks of dried fish and bundles of firewood. Each movement is slow but deliberate, the crew knowing the value of conserving energy after a long day. As the sun slips below the horizon, the sky deepens to a rich indigo, and the first stars begin to twinkle faintly overhead. The firelight grows stronger, its glow warming the faces of the gathered sailors. Your father unpacks a small kettle, setting it over a fire ring of stones. The sound of water beginning to boil mingles with the low murmur of conversation and the occasional crackle of burning wood. A pot of stew is passed around, thick and hearty, made from salted meat, root vegetables, and herbs gathered on previous journeys. The taste is rich and filling, a balm against the chill creeping in with the night. Nearby, the skald tunes his harp, fingers moving delicately over the strings. The music is soft, a gentle melody that weaves through the air like a warm breeze, wrapping around the tired crew. Stories follow the music, tales of ancient gods and legendary heroes, whispered secrets of the sea, and memories of home. The flickering firelight highlights the lines of weathered faces, the glint of eyes reflecting both hardship and hope. You listen closely, absorbing the cadence of the words and the rhythm of the harp, feeling a deep connection to those who have come before and those who will follow. The night deepens, and the fires burn lower. One by one, the crew settles down to sleep beneath thick blankets and furs, their bodies heavy with exhaustion but hearts steady with purpose. You find a place near the fire, curling up on a bed of pine boughs. The smell is sharp and soothing, mingling with the salt air and the warmth of the dying embers. The sky above is vast and endless, a tapestry of stars that seems to stretch forever into the night. You close your eyes, the sounds of the sea and the crackling fire lulling you into a deep, peaceful sleep. The dawn breaks slowly. A pale glow seeps across the horizon, softening the inky black of night into shades of gray and blue. The stars fade one by one, surrendering to the promise of the sun. You wake to the familiar rhythm of waves lapping against the hull, the gentle creak of timber settling after hours of stillness. The air is cool and sharp, carrying the briny scent of the sea and the faint sweetness of damp pine from the nearby shores. Your limbs feel stiff from the night spent on pine boughs, the thin padding barely enough against the hard deck beneath. Yet the body remembers the motion of the waves, a subtle rocking that continues even when the ship is still. Around you, the crew stirs. Soft murmurs, the rustle of furs, the shifting of bodies. The helmsman is already at his post, eyes fixed on the eastern sky, fingers steady on the tiller. His breath forms small clouds in the cold morning air. You rise slowly, stretching your arms above your head and feeling the pull of muscles both sore and strong. Your breath catches for a moment in your throat, a mixture of cold and anticipation. The day ahead is uncertain. At sea, certainty is a luxury rarely afforded. You pull your cloak tight around your shoulders and move toward the bow, where the first light touches the water. The horizon is still a thin line, barely visible, but the promise of land or danger lingers there. The oars are already being readied. The captain calls out in a low voice, sharp but calm, "Ready the rowers. The wind will not carry us today." You find your place among the crew once more. The oarlock is cold and rough in your hands. The leather grip is worn but familiar. The rhythm begins again. 1, 2, 3. The blades dip into the water, slicing through the mirror-like surface with a soft splash. Row, rest, row, rest. The repetitive motion burns the muscles in your back and shoulders, but your mind enters a meditative state. Focused, aware, yet strangely detached from pain. You watch the sky as it lightens. Clouds gather, dark and heavy. The wind shifts. You hear the low rumble of thunder in the distance. A storm is coming. The captain's voice rises, calling orders. The sails are lowered and secured. The crew moves quickly now, urgency replacing the steady rhythm of earlier. Ropes are tightened. The anchor is weighed. You help haul heavy coils of rope, your fingers slipping on the wet fibers. The first drops of rain fall, cold and sharp, hitting your face like tiny needles. The waves grow taller, rolling beneath the ship like restless beasts. The spray lashes against your cheeks. The sky darkens. Lightning forks across the horizon, illuminating the waves in stark white. Thunder follows, a deep, rolling roar that shakes the air. The longship pitches and heaves. You grip your oar tightly, bracing against the surge. The crew works as one, voices shouting above the roar of the storm. Hold fast. Row harder. Keep her steady. The ship fights the wind and waves, each man pouring strength into the struggle. The rain blurs your vision. The salt water stings your eyes. The deck is slick beneath your boots. Your muscles scream, but you push on. The storm rages around you, fierce and unrelenting. And yet, within the chaos, there is a strange beauty. The raw power of nature, the unity of the crew, the timeless dance between man and sea. Hours pass. The storm begins to subside. The waves grow smaller. The rain softens. The sky lightens. The first rays of sun break through the clouds, casting a golden glow over the battered ship and exhausted crew. You sit back on your heels, breathing deeply. Your body trembles with fatigue, but your spirit feels unbroken. The sea has tested you, and you have endured. As the ship sails on into calmer waters, the crew tends to repairs. Torn sails are patched. Broken oars are lashed with leather strips. Water is bailed from the bilge. You help where you can, moving with careful precision despite aching limbs. The afternoon passes slowly. The sun warms the deck. The sea calms to a gentle swell. The crew shares quiet conversation, soft laughter, and stolen moments of rest. The skald picks up his harp again, playing a tentative melody. His voice rises, strong and clear, singing of heroes lost and found, of journeys taken and homecomings longed for. You listen, feeling the music settle over you like a balm. The day fades into evening. The sun sinks low. The sky blushes with pinks and purples. The longship sails toward a distant shore. You prepare for nightfall once more. The fire is kindled on the deck, contained within an iron brazier. The warmth is welcome. The crew gathers close, sharing food and stories. The stars emerge, bright and countless. You feel small beneath their vastness, and yet connected. The sea and sky, the ship and crew, the past and future, all woven together in an endless thread. You close your eyes, the firelight flickering over your face. Sleep comes gently, carrying you into dreams of wind and waves, of home and horizon. The morning arrives with a pale light that seeps softly across the horizon. The ship rocks gently at anchor in a small cove nestled between rocky cliffs and dense forests. The air is cool, tinged with the scent of pine and salt. Dew clings to the leaves and stones, sparkling like tiny jewels in the early light. The crew awakens slowly. The fire, still smoldering from the night before, casts faint shadows that dance on the wooden planks. Men stretch their cramped muscles, rubbing tired eyes and gathering their strength. You rise with them, stiff and sore, the ache in your limbs a reminder of yesterday's battle with the storm. Your father stands at the bow, surveying the shore with a steady gaze. Beside him, the helmsman loosens his grip on the tiller, his weathered face calm despite the night's turmoil. The day will be one of repair and replenishment. Small boats are lowered into the water, oars dipping silently into the glassy surface. Men ferry supplies and crew members ashore, the sounds of water splashing and muffled voices carrying softly in the morning air. You step onto the rocky beach, the stones cold beneath your boots. A thin mist rises from the forest, curling around tree trunks and weaving through branches. Nearby, a group of men unload barrels of fresh water, carefully rolling them up a narrow path carved into the hillside. Your task is clear. You join others in carrying supplies from ship to shore, moving slowly but steadily. The weight of the barrels is unfamiliar, heavier than you expected, but the rhythm of work soon dulls the ache in your muscles. As you move, you notice the beauty of the place. Wildflowers bloom along the path, their colors muted but alive. Moss carpets the rocks in thick green blankets. Birds sing in the trees, their songs sweet and clear in the quiet morning. The forest seems ancient, timeless, a place where the gods might still walk unseen. After the heavy lifting is done, you help set up camp. Tents are pitched with practiced hands, poles lashed together and canvas stretched taut. Fires are kindled, their smoke rising in thin columns that disappear into the brightening sky. Men prepare fish and game, drying strips over open flames and sharpening blades for the work ahead. You join a small group tasked with repairing the ship's sail. The canvas, torn and frayed in places, is spread carefully over the rocky ground. Needles fashioned from bone are passed around, and men thread strips of leather through the fabric, mending holes with steady hands. The work is slow and meticulous. Each stitch must hold against wind and storm. You learn the motions, the pull of thread, the pressure of the needle, the way the fabric flexes under your fingers. Your sister arrives with a basket of herbs and roots, offering them to the men as small gifts, poultices for aches, teas for colds. She smiles at you briefly before returning to tend the fires. The afternoon passes in quiet labor. The sun climbs higher, warming the skin and drying the mist. Lunch is simple: dried bread, salted meat, and a small cup of watered-down mead. You eat alongside your father, exchanging few words but sharing the comfort of presence. After the meal, you take a moment to explore the shore. The rocks are slippery with seaweed, and small pools hold curious creatures. Crabs scuttling beneath the surface, starfish clinging to stones. You watch a heron standing still in shallow water, its eyes sharp and patient. The stillness of the moment contrasts with the constant motion of life aboard the ship. You think about the journey ahead, the unknown waters, the promise and peril of distant lands. As the sun begins to dip toward the horizon, the crew gathers to break camp. Tents are struck, fires extinguished, supplies loaded back into boats. The longship awaits, bobbing gently in the cove, ready to carry you onward. Before boarding, your father places a hand on your shoulder. "Remember," he says quietly, "the sea is both giver and taker. Respect her, and she may carry you safely." You nod, feeling the weight of his words. As night falls, the sail is raised once more. The wind fills the canvas, and the ship moves forward, slicing through dark waters beneath a canopy of stars. The rhythmic splash of oars resumes. Voices are softer now, stories shared in low tones. The sea embraces you, vast and endless, and you are part of its ancient, unbroken story. The ship glides through the water, steady and sure. The night deepens, cloaking the sea and sky in velvet darkness. The stars shimmer above, their cold light scattered like diamonds across the endless black. The air is cool and carries the scent of salt and seaweed, mingled with the faint aroma of damp wood and worn leather from the ship. You settle into your place along the side, the oarlock cold and familiar beneath your hands. Though the oars rest now, the muscles in your arms remember the motion. Pulling, pushing, steadying, and the ache lingers. The crew is quiet, not from fear or weariness, but from the shared understanding that the sea commands silence at night. Even the usual chatter dims to whispers, words chosen carefully, if at all. The helmsman stands firm, eyes scanning the horizon, his grip steady on the tiller. The moon hangs low, casting a silver path across the water. A guide, a promise. You look around the ship, faces worn and weathered, eyes bright despite the fatigue. A boy near the mast is carving a small wooden figure. A boat, perhaps, or a bird. His fingers are nimble, and the shavings fall softly to the deck. The skald hums softly, fingers tracing gentle patterns on his harp strings. Your thoughts drift. You think of home, the longhouse, with its smoky warmth and familiar scents. The market with its bustle and barter. The fields, where the earth waits beneath the frost. And here, the open sea, vast and mysterious. The ship creaks and groans as it cuts through the waves. The water churns gently beneath the hull, silvering in the moonlight. A gentle breeze stirs the sail, causing it to flap softly. You breathe deeply, the salty air filling your lungs. There is a strange peace in this place, a feeling of belonging not to land or village, but to the sea itself. The night stretches on. Hours pass. The stars will overhead. You close your eyes briefly. When you open them again, the sky is lightening. Dawn is near. The first rays of sun peek over the horizon, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. The sea sparkles, alive with color. The crew stirs. Oars are readied once more. The rhythm returns. 1, 2, 3. Splash, creak, breathe. You row steadily, muscles warmed by the motion. The ship moves forward, slicing through the calm water. A pod of porpoises appears alongside, riding the bow wave with playful leaps. The crew smiles, watching the creatures dance. For a moment, the hardships of the journey fade, replaced by wonder. Mid-morning brings a shift in weather. Clouds gather, darkening the sky. The wind picks up, carrying a chill. The helmsman calls out orders. Sails are adjusted. Lines are tightened. The ship leans into the breeze. The waves grow larger. You grip the oarlock tightly. The sea is no longer calm, but you row on. The sky rumbles softly. Thunder echoes in the distance. The crew braces. A storm approaches. The wind howls. Rain pelts the deck. The ship pitches and rolls. Water sprays over the sides. You struggle to keep your grip. The oar dips and drags. The world becomes a blur of gray and white. Lightning flashes. Thunder crashes. The crew shouts. You work harder. The storm rages. Hours pass. The storm subsides. The sea calms. The sun breaks through the clouds. The crew sighs in relief. You collapse on the deck, exhausted but alive. The day continues. As evening falls, the ship approaches a rocky shoreline. The crew prepares to anchor. The oars are secured. The sail is lowered. The anchor is dropped. The ship settles in a sheltered bay. Fires are lit on shore. Food is cooked. Stories are shared. The night is calm. The sea is a mirror. The stars shine bright. You sleep deeply. The morning light filters softly through the canopy of towering pines as the crew disembarks onto the rocky shore. The scent of pine resin and damp earth fills the air, mingling with the sharp tang of saltwater carried in from the sea. The cove where the ship has anchored feels secluded and untouched, a hidden sanctuary that offers a brief respite from the relentless vastness of the ocean. You step carefully onto the uneven stones, your boots crunching against the frost-hardened earth. The coolness seeps through the soles, grounding you firmly to the land once more. Around you, the crew spreads out, some gathering wood for fires, others unpacking supplies or scouting the surrounding forest for fresh water and game. Your father approaches, a furrow of concentration creasing his weathered brow. "Keep your wits," he murmurs. "For even here, the land holds its own secrets." You nod, understanding that the wilderness is as much a challenge as the sea. The forest seems alive with whispering shadows, the rustling of unseen creatures, and the faint murmur of distant streams. Near the water's edge, a group of fishermen inspect nets woven from hemp and flax, their fingers deftly mending small tears and knots. You watch as they cast their nets into the crystalline shallows, the water shimmering beneath the weight of their movements. The fish dart and flicker, momentarily caught before wriggling free, a dance of life and death played out beneath the surface. In the heart of the cove, the campfires crackle to life, sending spirals of smoke upward, twisting through the tall pines. The men gather around, sharing simple meals of dried meat, flatbreads, and fresh water drawn from a nearby spring. The warmth of the flames draws out quiet stories, hushed laughter, and the occasional song, a melody that drifts across the bay like a gentle breeze. You find yourself sitting beside the skald, whose eyes gleam with the firelight. He strums his harp softly, fingers tracing familiar patterns as he hums tunes of distant lands and ancient tales. His voice, when he sings, carries the weight of history, the saga of warriors, gods, and the restless sea. As evening descends, the sky deepens into a tapestry of purples and blues, stars sparkling like scattered jewels. The fires burn low, their embers casting a warm glow on the faces of the crew, etched with lines of weariness and resolve. You lie back against a log, the scent of pine needles and smoldering wood filling your senses. The gentle lapping of the waves against the shore provides a steady rhythm, soothing and eternal. Your thoughts drift to home, the longhouse with its smoky hearth, the fields waiting for spring, the familiar faces of family and friends. Yet here, amid the wild beauty of the shore and the endless expanse of the sea, you feel the pull of adventure, the promise of the unknown. The night deepens, and the world falls into a tranquil hush. You close your eyes, the soft murmur of the forest and the distant call of a night bird lulling you into a peaceful sleep. The dawn breaks once more with a gentle golden light, filtering through the canopy and illuminating the dew-kissed leaves. The air is crisp and fresh, carrying the scent of moss and wildflowers. The crew rises with the sun, the rhythm of their movements as familiar as the tide. You join a small party tasked with exploring the surrounding woods, searching for game and gathering herbs. The forest floor is carpeted with fallen leaves, their rich hues of amber and rust crunching softly beneath your feet. Shafts of sunlight pierce the canopy, creating pools of warmth in the cool morning. Birdsong fills the air, a symphony of calls and responses that echo through the trees. You pause to watch a pair of thrushes flit among the branches, their feathers catching the light as they dance in the gentle breeze. The party moves with practiced ease, silent and alert. Your fingers brush against ferns and wild berries as you walk, collecting sprigs of mint and thyme for the cook's use. The scent of the herbs is invigorating, a reminder of the land's generosity even in its wildest corners. Suddenly, a rustle in the underbrush catches your attention. A hare darts across the path, its white tail flashing before disappearing into the thickets. Your heart quickens with the thrill of the chase, even if you know the limits of your role here. You spot tracks, deer prints pressed into the soft earth, the path of a fox winding through the brush. The forest is alive with signs, a map written in footprints and broken twigs. As the sun climbs higher, you return to camp with baskets laden with fresh herbs and small game. The cook's fire is already crackling, the aroma of roasting meat mingling with the smoky scent of the sea. The afternoon passes with tasks both practical and simple. Repairing sails torn in the last storm, sharpening blades dulled by rock and salt, and mending leather straps that have frayed with wear. You find yourself drawn to the ship's prow, watching the waves glitter in the sunlight. The sea stretches endlessly, a shimmering expanse that beckons and challenges in equal measure. The helmsman joins you, his eyes fixed on the horizon. He speaks softly of past voyages, the storms weathered, the lands discovered, the men lost and found. His stories are not of glory, but of endurance, of quiet moments like this, when the world seems to hold its breath, and the only certainty is the steady pulse of the sea beneath. As evening falls again, the crew gathers for a final meal before setting sail once more. The food is simple but hearty stews rich with root vegetables and salted meats, fresh-baked flatbreads, and the occasional treat of dried fruits or honeyed cakes. The firelight flickers over faces marked by sun and salt, laughter mingling with the low murmur of shared stories and plans for the coming days. The skald sings once more, his voice weaving tales of ancient gods and fearless warriors, his harp a gentle accompaniment that soothes and inspires. You listen, feeling the weight of history and the strength of those who have come before. The night deepens and the world grows still. The ship waits, ready to carry you onward. You lie down once more, the soft rustle of sails above and the gentle rocking of the waves lulling you into sleep. The pale light of dawn filters softly over the horizon, brushing the sky with hues of gentle pink and pale gold. The sea is calm once more, a vast mirror reflecting the awakening world. The ship rocks gently in the sheltered bay, its timbers creaking quietly like the slow breath of a great beast resting before another day's journey. You rise from your resting place on a bed of soft pine boughs, your muscles stiff but familiar with the rhythm of life at sea. The air is cool and carries the mingled scents of salt, wood smoke, and damp earth from the nearby shore. As you step onto the deck, the first chirping songs of seabirds greet you, their wings tracing lazy arcs against the softening darkness. Around you, the crew begins to stir. The helmsman steadies his grip on the tiller, eyes scanning the horizon for the faintest sign of wind or weather changes. Others move slowly, tending to their duties with quiet determination, securing loose ropes, checking the rigging, preparing for the day's demands. The smell of freshly brewed tea wafts from a small kettle hung over the fire pit. A few men gather near it, passing around cups and sharing the warmth that comes not just from the heat but from companionship. Their voices are low, the language of the sea blending with laughter and soft conversation. You take a deep breath, feeling the cool air fill your lungs. The horizon stretches endlessly before you, a boundless expanse of sea and sky that seems to promise both freedom and challenge. The captain's voice breaks the morning calm. Raise the sail, he commands softly, yet with authority. The crew moves as one, pulling ropes and adjusting the canvas. The great sail unfurls like a slow, deliberate wave, catching the breeze and filling with life. The ship leans gently into the wind, her course set for open waters beyond the cove. Oars are lifted from their locks and laid against the hull. For now, the wind will do the work, but the crew remains alert, ready to row if the breeze falters. You settle into your place, watching as the shoreline fades behind the ship, the trees shrinking into distant green ribbons against the rising sun. The water ripples gently beneath you, catching the light in sparkling diamonds that dance with each movement of the vessel. The day stretches ahead, full of both labor and reflection. As the sun climbs higher, the crew busies itself with maintenance, repairing sails torn by previous storms, patching wooden planks, and oiling ropes to keep them supple. The rhythm of these tasks is steady and unchanging, a dance learned over countless voyages. Between chores, stories are exchanged, tales of gods and heroes, of past voyages and lost comrades. The skald's voice rises now and then, weaving ancient sagas into song, the melodies carried softly by the sea breeze. You listen, captivated by the music and the words, feeling connected to something larger than yourself. a shared history that spans generations and seas. Suddenly, the wind shifts. Clouds gather on the horizon, dark and heavy. The air grows charged, and the waves begin to swell, rolling in rhythmic swells that press against the ship's hull with growing insistence. The captain's voice commands preparation. Secure the sails. Ready the oars. The crew moves swiftly, furling the sail and preparing to row as the first drops of rain begin to fall, cold and sharp, splattering across the deck. The storm arrives with fury, winds howling, waves crashing, rain pelting like stones. The ship pitches and heaves, the crew straining against the oars, muscles burning, breath ragged. Lightning forks across the darkened sky, illuminating the tempest in stark, fleeting flashes. Thunder roars like the voice of the gods themselves. You grip your oar, heart pounding, as the ship battles the storm. Every motion is a fight for survival, a test of endurance and will. Hours pass in relentless struggle. The storm ebbs and flows, never fully releasing its grasp. Exhaustion threatens to overwhelm, but the crew's determination does not waver. Finally, the tempest begins to subside. The rain lessens, the winds soften, and the waves gradually calm into a gentle rhythm once more. The sun breaks through scattered clouds, casting golden light over a sea transformed into a shimmering expanse of silver and blue. The crew sighs in relief, muscles trembling, faces wet and weary but alive. You collapse onto the deck, the ache in your limbs a testament to the battle fought and won. The ship sails on, steady and true, carrying you toward horizons yet unseen. As evening falls, the crew gathers once again around the fire pit. The skald's songs rise anew, their melodies weaving comfort and hope into the fading light. You listen, heart full, eyes heavy, as the sea whispers its timeless song. Sleep comes gently, carrying you into dreams of wind and waves, of home and distant lands. The stars emerge slowly, one by one, like ancient sentinels awakening to watch over the vast expanse of the sea. Above, the sky is a deep indigo velvet, punctuated with the cold, steady gleam of countless distant fires, galaxies of light scattered across the heavens. The longship glides through the water with quiet dignity, the gentle swell rocking it in a timeless rhythm. The fires along the deck flicker softly, their amber glow casting long shadows that dance across weathered faces and worn timber. The crew has settled into a calm that follows the day's trials, a stillness born not of fatigue alone but of a deep, shared understanding. The sea has tested them as it always does, and they have endured. You sit close to the fire, wrapped in a thick cloak that carries the scent of wool and smoke. Your hands, raw and aching from the day's labor, cradle a cup of warm mead, the sweet liquid sliding smoothly down your throat. Nearby, the skald strums his harp with gentle fingers, weaving melodies that speak of far-off places and long-forgotten times. His voice, when he sings, is soft and haunting, a thread connecting past and present, man and sea. The tales he tells are not of battle or conquest, but of survival and belonging. The quiet heroism of those who live by the tides and winds, whose strength lies in resilience and kinship. You close your eyes briefly, letting the music wash over you like the lapping waves against the hull. The ship creaks and sighs, the wood settling into the night's embrace. In this moment, the world feels vast and intimate all at once. A murmur rises among the crew, low voices sharing stories of home, of family, of dreams yet to be realized. Laughter flickers like firelight, warm and bright against the chill air. You think of the longhouse, the market, the fields left behind. You think of the endless sea, the horizons that stretch beyond sight. And you understand that you are part of something greater, a tapestry woven from countless journeys, countless lives, all bound by the call of the sea. As the night deepens, the fires dwindle to embers. The crew drifts into sleep, their breathing slow and even, blending with the rhythm of the waves. You remain awake a while longer, gazing up at the stars, tracing constellations learned from your elders. The hunter, the serpent, the ship. The sea whispers secrets in the dark, promises and warnings carried on the salt-kissed breeze. You breathe deeply, feeling the weight of the day and the promise of tomorrow. Finally, your eyes close, and the sea carries you into dreams. Chapter 4. The Winter Longhouse, Fireside Tales, and Daily Life. The world outside is quiet now, wrapped in a thick blanket of snow. The early morning light is soft and pale, filtering through the small windows of the longhouse and casting gentle shadows along the wooden floor. Inside, the air is warm and thick with the scent of peat smoke and roasting meat. The fire in the hearth crackles steadily, sending flickers of light dancing across the rough-hewn beams overhead. You sit near the fire, wrapped in layers of wool and fur, feeling the heat seep into your bones. Around you, the longhouse hums with life, quiet conversations, the soft shuffle of footsteps on straw-covered floors, the occasional clink of a wooden mug. Winter has settled fully, and the days are short and cold. The land outside sleeps beneath the snow, but inside, the longhouse is a refuge, a place of warmth, work, and stories. Your mother moves gracefully through the room, tending to pots and pans, her hands steady despite the chill that clings to the windowsills. The scent of spiced broth fills the air, mingling with the faint aroma of dried herbs hanging from the rafters. The children play quietly in a corner, their laughter soft and gentle, tempered by the close walls and the watchful eyes of their elders. They build towers from carved wooden blocks and whisper secrets to one another, their imaginations painting vivid worlds beyond the snowy landscape outside. Your father sits at the workbench, carefully carving a new handle for a knife. His hands are strong but patient, each cut deliberate. The wood curls away beneath his blade, thin and fragrant. Occasionally, he glances up, catching your eye and offering a brief nod, a silent acknowledgement of shared purpose. Near the entrance, the dog lies curled on a woven mat, ears twitching as it listens to the quiet sounds of the house. Occasionally, it lifts its head, sniffing the air, before settling back into a contented sigh. The longhouse is more than shelter. It is home, a place where generations have lived and loved, fought and forgiven, labored and rested. The morning passes with steady tasks. You help your mother knead bread dough, the flour dusting your fingers and the warm yeast scent rising like promise. The kitchen is a place of rhythm and ritual, the mixing, the folding, the waiting. Outside, the wind howls softly, rattling the shutters and sweeping snow against the door. But inside, the world is small and contained, shaped by the flickering firelight and the hum of daily life. After the bread is set to rise, you join your father and uncle in the workshop. They teach you how to make a wooden bucket, a simple vessel, but one essential to daily life. You learn to measure and mark, to use the draw knife and auger, to fit the staves together tightly so that the bucket will hold water without leaking. The work is slow and precise, requiring patience and care. Mistakes are costly, but each success is a small triumph. You feel the weight of tradition in the wood, the knowledge passed down from father to son, uncle to nephew, through countless winters. As the day deepens, the longhouse fills with visitors. Neighbors come bearing gifts, jars of honey, bundles of herbs, cured meats. They arrive wrapped in thick cloaks and furs, faces flushed from the cold. Greetings are exchanged with warmth and genuine smiles, a reminder of the bonds that hold the community together. The children gather to watch as the skald prepares to tell tales. He sits near the fire, harp in hand, eyes bright with anticipation. His stories are not just entertainment. They are lessons, memory, and connection, threads that weave the past into the present. Tonight, he speaks of the frost giants and the dawn goddess, of battles fought in skies and seas, of the eternal dance between light and dark. His voice rises and falls with the flicker of flames, carrying you into worlds both terrifying and wondrous. The children listen wide-eyed, some clutching their mother's hands, others leaning forward eagerly. The elders nod knowingly, caught between belief and storytelling. The fire burns low as night settles fully. You help your mother prepare a simple supper, stew thick with root vegetables and smoked meat, bread warm and soft from the oven. The longhouse is alive with the soft sounds of eating and quiet conversation. The crackle of the fire is a steady heartbeat beneath the murmurs. You sit close to the hearth, feeling the comfort of heat and community. Outside, the wind rises again, but inside, the world is safe. Safe in its stories, its work, its slow, steady pulse. As you prepare for sleep, you reflect on the strength found in these walls, in the hands that build, the voices that tell, the hearts that endure. And you know that no matter how fierce the winter, the longhouse will stand. The longhouse breathes with life through the cold winter day. Outside, the snow lies thick and silent, muffling the world beneath a blanket of white. But inside, the rhythm of daily life continues, steady and unbroken. You rise early, the chill still lingering in the air despite the warm hearth. Your breath forms small clouds as you move, wrapped in layers of wool and fur. The wooden floorboards beneath your feet creak softly, and the smell of peat smoke and cooking meat welcomes you fully into the new day. Your mother is already at the hearth, stirring a pot of thick porridge. The grains have swollen overnight, and the sweet aroma of honey and dried berries drifts through the room. She glances up as you enter, offering a tired smile and a steaming bowl. You sit beside the fire, savoring the warmth as you eat slowly, the porridge thick and filling. Outside, the wind howls against the walls, but the longhouse stands firm. Its wooden beams blackened with smoke, its thatched roof heavy with snow. The other occupants begin to stir, your father emerging from his corner, stretching stiff muscles. Your sister preparing flax fibers for spinning. Your grandfather muttering softly as he sits by the fire, lost in thought or memory. The morning is filled with small tasks. You help your mother knead dough for bread, the flour dusting your fingers and the scent of yeast rising sweetly. The work is repetitive but comforting. Fold, press, fold again, each movement grounding you in the moment. Your father and uncle work nearby, repairing tools and crafting wooden utensils. The scrape of blades against wood and the steady tap of hammer on iron fill the space with a quiet music. Your sister teaches you to spin thread from flax fibers, guiding your hands as you twist the fibers into fine strands. The process is slow and requires patience, but the promise of warm cloth to come keeps your focus. Outside, the village is hushed beneath the snow. Occasionally, the distant bark of a dog or the creak of a frozen branch breaks the stillness. The smoke from chimneys rises in pale spirals against the gray sky. As midday approaches, neighbors begin to arrive. Wrapped in heavy cloaks and furs, their faces red from the cold, they bring gifts, baskets of dried herbs, jars of honey, cured meats. Greetings are exchanged warmly, and the longhouse fills with a sense of community and shared endurance. The children gather around the skald, who prepares to tell tales by the fire. His harp is small but finely crafted, the strings taut and ready. As he begins to sing, his voice weaves stories of gods and heroes, of winters harsh and summers bright, of battles fought and peace won. The children listen intently, their eyes wide with wonder. The elders nod in quiet appreciation, recognizing the threads of their own history in the words. As the afternoon wanes, you help prepare the evening meal. Root vegetables are peeled and chopped, meat is trimmed and seasoned, and pots are set to simmer over the fire. The warmth of the hearth fills the longhouse, mingling with the aromas of cooking food and the faint scent of burning wood. You pause for a moment, looking around at the faces gathered, the family and friends who make this place a home. The hardships of winter and the toils of daily life are softened here by shared stories, laughter, and the simple act of breaking bread together. The fire crackles low as night falls. You sit close, wrapped in a thick cloak, and listen to the soft murmur of voices and the steady breathing of those around you. Sleep comes slowly, carried on the wings of ancient tales and the promise of a new day. The next morning dawns pale and still. The snow lies untouched, a pristine blanket sparkling beneath a weak sun. The wind has softened to a gentle whisper, and the air holds the crispness of frozen earth. You rise to the familiar sounds of the longhouse waking, footsteps on straw, the scrape of a wooden chair, the low murmur of voices greeting the day. Your mother moves among the pots and pans, preparing a simple breakfast of porridge and dried fruit. The children dress in layers of wool and fur, their cheeks flushed with cold and excitement for the day ahead. Your father steps outside, surveying the village and the surrounding fields. The tracks in the snow tell stories of animals passing. Hares bounding, foxes stalking, birds flitting through the trees. Today will be a day of gathering and preparation. The forests are the source of much-needed firewood, game, and herbs that sustain the longhouse through the harsh winter months. You join a group setting out into the woods. The trees stand tall and silent, their branches heavy with snow. Your boots crunch through the frozen underbrush as you move carefully, eyes scanning for signs of wildlife and fallen branches suitable for fuel. The cold bites at your cheeks, but the work warms your limbs. You help carry bundles of firewood back toward the village, the weight a reminder of the labor that sustains life here. Along the way, you gather sprigs of pine and fir, fragrant greens that will hang inside the longhouse, bringing a touch of forest freshness to the smoky air. Your companions share quiet stories, memories of past winters, of hunts long ago, of family and loss. The forest feels alive with these tales, woven into the rustling of branches and the crunch of footsteps. Returning to the village, you find the longhouse bustling with activity. The smokehouse is busy, the air thick with the scent of curing meats and drying fish. The women work together, sorting herbs and preparing medicinal remedies. The men sharpen tools and repair fences. The children play quietly in the snow, their laughter a bright counterpoint to the somber work. As the day closes, the longhouse fills once more with warmth and light. Stories are told, songs sung, and the community comes together to face the winter's challenges with strength and solidarity. You settle near the hearth, the glow of the fire reflecting in your eyes. The world outside is frozen and silent, but here, within these walls, life endures. And tomorrow the cycle will begin anew. The fire's warmth wraps around you like a soft blanket as the longhouse settles into the rhythm of evening. Outside, the wind stirs the snowdrifts, pressing against the wooden walls with a whispering insistence. But inside, the air is thick with comfort and the muted chatter of kin. Your mother moves between tasks with practiced ease, carrying bowls of stew to the long wooden table where the family gathers. The rich aroma of roasted root vegetables and salted meat fills the room, mingling with the smoke from the hearth. Her hands are steady despite the cold that has settled into her bones during the day's work. You sit beside your sister, whose fingers deftly weave strands of wool into a thick braid. She hums a quiet tune, one passed down from your grandmother, a song of hope and survival sung through generations of winters. The melody rises and falls, weaving through the crackling firelight like a gentle lullaby. Your father sits across from you, carving a piece of wood with a small knife. The curls of shavings fall onto the floor, catching the glow of the fire. His face is lined with the marks of many winters, weathered skin, deep-set eyes, and a jaw set with quiet determination. Occasionally, he glances up, meeting your gaze with a nod that speaks volumes without words. The children gather near the hearth, their breath rising in soft puffs of warmth. They listen intently as your grandfather begins to speak, his voice low and steady, carrying the weight of countless stories. He tells of ancient gods and heroes, of battles fought beneath stormy skies, and of the sacred bond between land and sea. The tales are not mere entertainment. They are lessons woven into the fabric of your people's history. They teach courage, honor, and the importance of community. As he speaks, the room grows still, the flickering shadows playing across faces rapt with attention. After the stories, the family breaks into quiet conversation. Plans for the coming days are discussed. The need to repair a section of the roof before the next snowfall, the preparation of additional preserves, and the care of livestock during the harshest months. Your sister rises to fetch a jug of mead, pouring warm cups that are passed around with gentle hands. The sweetness of the honeyed drink is a balm against the chill, its warmth spreading through your chest as you take a careful sip. Outside, the wind picks up again, rattling the shutters and sending a soft cascade of snowflakes against the window panes. The dog stirs by the door, stretching his limbs before settling once more into a contented curl. You lean back against the wall, feeling the comforting weight of the furs beneath you. Your eyes grow heavy as the fire dims, the voices softening into murmurs. Sleep comes as a gentle tide, carrying you into dreams of distant seas and warm hearths. Morning arrives with a pale light filtering through the frost-covered windows. The longhouse awakens slowly, the air filled with the sense of freshly baked bread and simmering broth. Your mother is already at the hearth, kneading dough with practiced hands. The rhythmic motion is soothing, and you watch as the flour dust rises like mist, settling on the rough wooden table. Your father prepares for the day's work outside, bundling tools and checking supplies. The cold bites at his fingers, but he moves with steady purpose, the routines of survival ingrained deep. You help tend to the animals, brushing snow from their hides and checking on their feed. The goats nuzzle your hands, their warm breath a brief comfort in the chill morning. As the day unfolds, you join others in gathering firewood from the nearby forest. The trees stand tall and silent, their branches heavy with snow. The crunch of boots on frozen earth and the snap of branches underfoot create a steady rhythm that accompanies your thoughts. You work alongside your neighbors, the shared labor forging bonds as strong as any forged in battle. Conversations are sparse but warm, punctuated by laughter and the exchange of small gifts. A smoked fish here, a bundle of herbs there. Returning to the longhouse, you help stack the wood carefully, ensuring the fire will burn bright through the coming nights. The afternoon is spent in quiet pursuits, spinning wool, carving wood, mending clothing. Each task is a thread in the tapestry of daily life, woven with care and purpose. Your sister teaches you new stitches, her hands patient as she guides yours. The fabric grows beneath your fingers, a tangible reminder of the skills passed through generations. As evening falls, the longhouse fills once more with warmth and light. The fire burns brightly, and the scent of roasting meat fills the air. The family gathers around the table, sharing stories and laughter. The bonds forged in shared hardship and love are palpable, a testament to the resilience of your people. You listen to the tales told by the elders, their voices carrying the wisdom of ages. Each story a beacon in the long winter night, guiding you through the darkness. The night deepens, and you settle once more near the hearth. The fire's glow softens, the shadows lengthen, and the world outside grows still. Sleep envelopes you gently, carrying you into dreams filled with warmth, kinship, and the promise of spring. The fire's glow softens as the night deepens, casting long, flickering shadows across the faces gathered in the longhouse. The steady hum of voices has quieted to murmurs, and the occasional crackle of burning wood punctuates the stillness like a heartbeat. Outside, the wind rises and falls, a relentless presence pressing against the sturdy walls, reminding all within of the season's harshness. You sit beside your mother, who gently weaves woolen strands into a thick, warm cloak. Her fingers move with practiced grace, the rhythm steady and soothing. She hums an old lullaby under her breath, a song of endurance and hope, passed down through generations. The soft melody wraps around you like the cloak itself, offering comfort against the chill that lingers in the corners of the room. Your father leans against a carved wooden post, watching the fires dance with eyes that hold both fatigue and determination. He says little tonight, his usual quiet presence more pronounced as the weight of the season presses upon him. Occasionally, he offers a brief nod or a small smile to those nearby, a silent acknowledgement of shared strength. Your sister sits opposite you, her hands deftly knitting, the needles clicking softly. She glances up, catching your eye, and offers a small smile, a brief moment of connection amidst the evening's calm. The children, tired from the day's activities, nestle close to the elders, their eyelids heavy but faces serene. The skald, seated near the hearth, gently strums his harp, weaving melodies that rise and fall like the ocean's waves. His voice is low and soothing, telling tales of heroes and gods, of winters survived and battles won, not with swords alone, but with courage and kinship. The stories fill the room, anchoring everyone to a shared past and a hopeful future. Between songs, the conversation drifts to practical matters. Plans are made for the days ahead, preparing more preserves, tending to the animals, reinforcing the longhouse against the next storm. The rhythm of life continues, each task a thread in the fabric that holds the community together. Your thoughts wander to the world beyond these walls. The fields blanketed in snow, the frozen rivers, the distant forests where game hides and the wild waits. You think of the seasons yet to come, of the promise buried beneath the ice, and of the hard work required to reach it. The fire crackles low, casting a warm glow that flickers against the wooden beams. You feel the comforting weight of the fur wrapped around your shoulders and the steady breath of those nearby. The world outside is cold and unforgiving, but here, within the longhouse, life persists. Sleep beckons gently, and you close your eyes, carried away by the steady pulse of the fire and the enduring strength of family and home. The dawn arrives pale and quiet, filtered through frost-covered windows. The longhouse stirs slowly, the sounds of movement soft and familiar. You awaken to the smell of baking bread and the gentle murmur of conversation. Your mother is at the hearth, tending to the morning meal with steady hands. The scent of porridge, thick and warm, fills the air. You join her, grateful for the simple sustenance that nourishes body and spirit alike. Outside, the wind whispers through the trees, carrying the faint promise of sun beneath the gray winter sky. The snow lies deep, sparkling with icy crystals that catch the light. The day begins with chores that have become routine: the gathering of firewood, the care of livestock, the repair of tools worn by constant use. Each task is performed with care and purpose, the labor shared among family and neighbors alike. You work alongside your sister, mending torn clothing and weaving new garments from spun wool. Her fingers are nimble and sure, and she teaches you patiently, her voice soft but firm. The work is slow but satisfying, a tangible way to prepare for the months ahead. Your father supervises the repair of a broken fence, his experienced hands guiding the younger men. His voice carries authority tempered with kindness, a balance learned through years of leadership and hardship. The community moves as one, each member aware of their role and the importance of their contributions. Despite the cold and the challenges, there is warmth in togetherness, a shared resilience that sustains all. As the sun dips low, casting long shadows across the snow, you gather near the hearth once more. The evening meal is shared with gratitude and quiet joy. Stories and songs rise again, weaving a tapestry of memory and hope. You listen as the skald recounts tales of ancestors who faced greater hardships and emerged stronger. The lessons are clear. Survival is not merely a matter of strength but of heart and unity. The night deepens, and the fire fades to embers. You rest beneath the firs, the sounds of the longhouse a lullaby in the dark. Days pass in this steady rhythm. The cold persists, but so does the life within. Each morning brings new tasks. Each evening offers comfort in stories and song. The community endures, bound by shared history and the relentless passage of the seasons. You find strength in small moments: the laughter of children playing near the fire, the soft touch of your mother's hand, the steadfast presence of your father. These are the threads that weave a fabric strong enough to withstand even the harshest winter. As snow falls softly outside, blanketing the world in white, the longhouse remains a beacon of warmth and life. Within its walls, the past and present merge, and hope is kindled anew with each flicker of the fire. The days grow shorter, the cold deepens, and the longhouse becomes a sanctuary from the relentless grasp of winter. Outside, the world is a frozen expanse, white and silent beneath the heavy skies. Inside, life hums with quiet purpose, an unbroken chain of routine, ritual, and resilience. The hearth burns brightly, casting a warm glow that chases away shadows and wraps the room in comfort. Around it, the community gathers, each person finding a place, by firelight, beside a workbench, near the woven mats laid upon the straw-strewn floor. Your mother tends the cooking, stirring thick stews and baking dense breads that will sustain the household through the long nights. Her hands move with practiced grace, shaped by years of toil and care. The kitchen is a heart within the house, pulsing with warmth and life. Your father sits nearby, whittling a wooden bowl with slow, deliberate strokes. The curls of wood gather on the floor, fragrant and fresh. He hums softly, a tune as old as the hills, a melody that carries the weight of memory and hope. The children play quietly, their laughter muffled by layers of wool and fur. They chase one another around the sturdy posts of the longhouse, their breath rising in little clouds of warmth. Their games echo with the simple joys of childhood, a balm against the harshness beyond the walls. Your sister works at her loom, weaving threads of flax into fine cloth. The shuttle moves back and forth, a steady rhythm that mirrors the beat of the fire's crackle. She teaches you to spin, guiding your hands as you learn to draw out the fibers, twist them tight, and create strands strong enough to weave. Outside, the wind howls, sweeping snow against the thick walls. The longhouse creaks and settles, a living thing breathing in time with its inhabitants. The windows frost over, blurring the view of the frozen fields and forests beyond. Amid this harsh beauty, seasonal rituals bind the community together. Today is the day of Yule preparations, a time when the darkest hours of winter are met with light, celebration, and remembrance. The elders speak softly of the gods, of the turning wheel of the year, and the promise of returning sun. You help gather evergreens, sprigs of pine, fir, and holly, to decorate the longhouse. Their sharp scent fills the air, a fragrant reminder of life amid the cold. Branches are woven into garlands and hung from beams, their green needles a symbol of resilience and renewal. The skald composes new verses, weaving together ancient myths and the events of the season. His songs speak of the sun's journey, the battle against darkness, and the hope that endures. As night falls, the community gathers in the great hall. The fires burn bright, and the air is filled with the smell of roasted meats, spiced alish, and sweet honey cakes. Voices rise in song and laughter, stories told and retold with passion and reverence. Children sit wide-eyed as the elders recount tales of gods and heroes, of winters long past, and battles fought beneath starry skies. The flickering firelight plays across their faces, illuminating wonder and awe. You join in the singing, your voice blending with the chorus, a tapestry of sound that carries warmth and light into the heart of winter. Later, as the revelry winds down, you step outside. The night sky is clear and vast, stars shimmering with cold brilliance. The snow crunches softly beneath your boots, and the silence is deep and complete. You gaze upward, feeling a connection to the endless expanse, a thread linking you to those who came before and those yet to come. The firelight behind you glows softly, a beacon against the darkness. And you know that, despite the cold and the shadows, life continues, steady, unyielding, and bright with promise. The fire burns low as the longhouse settles into the quiet rhythm of the night. Outside, the winter wind moans softly, brushing against the sturdy walls, rattling the shutters, and carrying the faint scent of pine and snow. Inside, the glow of the embers casts flickering shadows, dancing across the faces gathered near the hearth. Your grandfather leans forward, his eyes reflecting the firelight as he begins to speak. His voice is soft but carries the weight of years and wisdom. There was a winter long ago, he begins, when the snow fell so deep that the roofs nearly caved in. The winds howled like wolves, and the days were so short that even the bravest struggled to find light. We lived by the fire and by each other, and though the cold threatened to consume us, our hearts held fast. The room grows still, the only sound the crackle of the fire and the distant call of an owl. Children listen wide-eyed, their cheeks flushed from the warmth, imagining the fierce cold and the bravery it demanded. He continues, weaving tales of survival and hope, of families banding together, of the gods' blessings and trials endured. Each story is a thread, binding the community's past to its present. Your mother brings fresh logs to the fire, the scent of resin filling the air. She smiles gently at the gathered faces, her presence a steady comfort. Your sister nestles beside her, her fingers tracing patterns in the woven cloth at her feet. You sit nearby, wrapped in a heavy cloak, feeling the warmth seep into your bones. The longhouse feels alive, breathing with the stories, the shared memories, and the quiet strength of those within. Later, as the fire dims and the night deepens, You rise and move to the small window. Frost crystals frame the glass, glinting like stars against the dark. You look out at the snow-covered fields, the silhouettes of trees etched against the horizon. The world is silent and vast, a place of beauty and challenge. The wind stirs again, carrying a whisper of the old songs. The ancient hymns sung beneath northern skies, echoes of the past. You close your eyes, feeling connected to the land, the sea, and the people who call this place home. The morning light filters weakly through heavy clouds. The snow has fallen overnight, covering the village in a thick, unbroken white. Footsteps are muffled, and the world feels hushed. You dress quickly, layering woolen garments and wrapping a thick cloak around your shoulders. The cold bites sharply as you step outside, the crisp air filling your lungs. The village is quiet but for the soft murmur of voices and the occasional crunch of boots in snow. Neighbors gather to clear paths, their breath rising in soft clouds. Children toss snowballs and chase one another, their laughter bright against the gray. The day is one of preparation and caution. The long winter demands constant attention. Wood must be gathered, animals cared for, provisions checked. You join a group heading into the forest, axes in hand. The trees stand tall and bare, their branches etched against the pale sky. The air is thick with the scent of pine and earth. The work is hard and steady. Felling trees, chopping wood, bundling logs for the hearths. Your muscles ache, but the rhythm is familiar and grounding. As you pause for a moment, wiping sweat and snow from your brow, your gaze lifts to the distant hills, shrouded in mist. The land is vast and wild, full of mysteries and memories. You think of the stories told by the fire, the heroes and gods, the winters survived, the bonds forged in hardship. The forest seems to listen, ancient and knowing. Returning to the village, you help stack the woodpile, careful to keep it dry and sheltered. The longhouse awaits, warm and inviting. Inside, the smell of cooking fills the air. Your mother stirs a pot of stew, its rich aroma a promise of comfort. The family gathers once more, sharing food and stories, their faces glowing with firelight and friendship. The world outside may be cold and dark, but here, within these walls, life endures, and hope remains. Winter deepens its grip, and the days grow short and dark. Yet within the longhouse, life pulses with warmth and tradition. The approaching festival of Yule brings a flicker of anticipation amid the harshness of the season, a time when the community gathers to celebrate survival, hope, and renewal. Preparation begins early, with the gathering of evergreens, sprigs of pine, fir, and holly woven into garlands that adorn the beams. Their sharp, resinous scent mingles with the smoke from the hearth, filling the air with a fresh, comforting aroma. The green branches symbolize life enduring through the cold, a reminder that spring will come again. Your sister helps weave the garlands, her fingers nimble and steady despite the chill in the room. You join her, learning the patterns, the way the twigs bend and intertwine, forming shapes both simple and intricate. The act is meditative, a tactile connection to the cycles of nature and the hands of those who came before. In the kitchen, your mother prepares special foods, spiced cakes sweetened with honey, roasted meats glazed with herbs, and rich stews thickened with barley. The scents swirl through the longhouse, promising feast and comfort. She moves with purposeful grace, her every motion shaped by years of tradition and care. Your father sharpens knives and mends tools, ensuring everything is ready for the days ahead. His quiet presence anchors the household, his steady hands a source of strength and reassurance. The village gathers as night falls, the longhouse filling with neighbors wrapped in furs and cloaks. Faces are flushed with cold and excitement, eyes bright beneath braided hair and woolen hoods. Children cluster near the fire, their laughter ringing out like bells in the cozy space. The skald takes his place beside the hearth, his harp gleaming in the firelight. His voice rises, telling tales of gods and heroes, of ancient battles and timeless journeys. The stories echo through the longhouse, weaving threads of history and memory that bind the community together. Songs follow, voices rising in unison. The melodies are old and familiar, sung with both joy and reverence. Hands clap, feet tap, and hearts beat in rhythm, filling the space with a vibrant energy that pushes back the dark. Amid the celebration, stories of past winters are shared. The hardships endured, the miracles witnessed, the resilience that carried the community through. Elders speak with quiet pride, and young ones listen with wide eyes, absorbing lessons of strength and hope. The night is long, filled with warmth and camaraderie. Fires burn low, embers glowing like stars fallen to earth. As the revelry winds down, the longhouse settles once more into its steady breath. You lie beneath thick furs, the scent of pine and smoke lingering as sleep takes you gently. Morning comes soft and gray, the sky heavy with clouds and promise of snow. The village awakens slowly, the hush of snowfall muffling sound and movement. You rise to the smell of fresh bread and brewed herbal tea, your mother's voice calling softly from the kitchen. The hearth's warmth wraps around you, a shield against the cold beyond. The day is one of quiet labor and preparation. The snow piles higher, and the paths between houses narrow under its weight. Families work together to clear the way, their breaths rising in steady puffs. Inside the longhouse, the rhythm continues, spinning, weaving, carving, mending. Each task a thread in the tapestry of survival, each moment a building block of community. You learn new stitches from your sister, her hands guiding yours with patient care. Together, you craft warm mittens and thick socks, the wool soft and comforting. Outside, the village dogs romp through the snow, their joyful barks echoing against the white landscape. Children build snow shelters and chase one another, their cheeks rosy and bright. The afternoon brings the gathering of firewood, a communal effort that tests strength and cooperation. Logs are carried through the deep snow, stacked carefully to feed the hearths that keep the longhouse alive. As evening falls, the longhouse fills again with light and song. The fire blazes bright, and the aroma of spiced stew fills the air. Voices rise in tales and laughter, the bonds of family and friendship growing stronger with each shared story. The night deepens, and the cold presses outside, but inside, the warmth of home and heart holds fast. The weeks pass in this steady cadence. Work and rest, story and song, cold and warmth. The longhouse is a beacon, its walls sheltering generations and memories. You find comfort in the small moments, the touch of your mother's hand, the smile of a sibling, the crackle of the fire. The past and present intertwine in the stories told by elders, their voices weaving history into the fabric of the everyday. You learn that survival is not merely enduring the winter but embracing it, with its hardships and its gifts. And in this, the longhouse stands as a testament, a place where life continues, bright and unyielding, beneath the darkest skies.